Behind the facade of innocence, darkness lurks, a world where truth is twisted and loyalty is demanded. They prey on the vulnerable, manipulate the minds, and commit unspeakable acts. Throughout history, cults have cast long shadows. They promise salvation, but deliver damnation. Welcome to the world of cultish crimes.
Being a good mom is very important to me, and a good wife, and a good worker, and being all those things together is not easy. So I'm basically a ticking time bomb.
I'm basically a ticking time bomb.
Now, before we dive into today's chilling tale, I think it's necessary for us to clarify a few things. The individuals in today's true crime case are members of the LDS Church, aka Mormons. It's important for us to distinguish them from the FLDS, which should bring this guy to mind, Warren Jeffs. The FLDS is a fundamentalist offshoot of the LDS and are known for living in compounds together and their distinctive dress code. You know, those long dresses and those outdated hairstyles, and of course they also practice polygamy. But the people we'll be discussing in today's video are what we would refer to as mainstream Mormons. While their attire is modest, it is generally just accepted as normal in society, and they also don't live in compounds. They just live in houses with their families like most of us do. However, they still have to adhere to a strict set of moral guidelines which can influence their lifestyle choices, but they do not practice polygamy. Mormons believe in God the Father, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Ghost, but their concept of the Godhead differs from traditional Christianity. They believe in additional scriptures like the Book of Mormon and modern-day prophets, especially Joseph Smith. Joseph Smith is considered the founder and first prophet of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Mormons believe that he was called by God to restore the true Church of Jesus Christ to the earth. Mormons practice baptisms for the dead, and they have unique beliefs about family history and also eternal progression. Now that I have given you a brief description of the religion, I would like to start today's true crime case at the beginning. Lori Cox was born on the 26th of June in 1973 in Loma Linda, California. She was born into a Mormon family, and according to her mom Janice and dad Barry Cox, Lori had always been very spiritual and a devout Mormon. She has many siblings, but only 3 of them are relevant in today's case, so those are the ones I will tell you about. 2 brothers, Adam and Alex, and a sister called Summer. Please remember Alex because he comes up again in this case and he plays a major part in today's horrific story. In 1992, at the age of 19, Lori married her high school sweetheart Nelson Yates. While details about him are limited, we do know that they didn't have any children together and the marriage was short-lived and ended in divorce. In 1995, Lori married her second husband, William Lagioia, and while details about him are also scarce, we do know that they had a son together and they named him Colby. Reportedly, Lori was being mistreated by William and she felt like she needed to get herself and her son Colby out of that toxic environment, and that is what she did. In 1998, she divorced William, and in 2001, she got married for a 3rd time, this time to a man named Joseph Anthony Ryan Jr. Joseph also went on to legally adopt Lori's son Colby, and they lived in Austin, Texas together, where Lori also worked as a hairdresser. Lori and Joseph then went on to have a little girl together, and they named her Tylee. Not too long after Tylee's birth, Lori actually entered the Mrs. Texas pageant.
Being a good mom is very important to me, and a good wife, and a good worker, and being all those things together is not easy. So I'm basically a ticking time bomb.
It always seemed like Lori needed spiritual validation for everything she did, and she started telling her sister-in-law that she was going to be on the Wheel of Fortune. And she actually was.
Ladies and gentlemen, Pat Sajak and Vanna White.
Here they come. Thanks, Charles. Thank you very much. Hello there. How you doing, Lori?
I'm good.
Lori
How are you?
Ryan from Austin, Texas.
That's right.
Hairstylist in Austin, hey?
That's right. The best.
How's the hair in Austin?
It's good.
Good.
Us is a happening place.
Probably thanks to you.
Pretty much.
Talk about your family a little bit.
I have a wonderful husband, Joseph, at home, who is watching our two beautiful children, Colby, who's 7, and Tylee, who is 1.
Yeah, what do you guys like to do for fun?
We like to play all kinds of sports on our 3 acres.
Okay, sounds like you have a nice life there.
We do.
Congratulations.
Thank
Nice to have you with us.
But this is also around the time when things started to fall apart between Lori and Joseph. Colby, her oldest son, described that Joseph was a wonderful man in the beginning, but over time he became extremely irritable, especially with the children. Lori was very close with Joseph's sister, and she confided in her about how Joseph was treating her. And even though this was Joseph's sister, she was also like Lori's best friend at the time, and she actually urged Lori to leave Joseph. But then things would take a really dark turn because Colby, who was only 8 years old at the time, was brave enough to go to his mom and tell her that Joseph was SAing him. When Lori found out about this, she took the kids and she divorced Joseph in 2005. Reportedly, this was Lori's breaking point and she was never the same again. And then I just need to add that there is no evidence that can verify that the SA that Joseph is being accused of actually happened. I am just reporting to you what I have found from online sources. After her divorce from Joseph, Lori moved around a lot with the children. But then she met a man named Charles Vallow. Charles was also divorced and he had 2 sons who lived with his ex-wife. He was a successful and wealthy businessman and made it possible for Lori to be a housewife and focus on her kids. In 2006, Charles and Lori tied the knot in Las Vegas. So Charles was Lori's 4th husband, and in the LDS church, divorce is really frowned upon. So this was pretty controversial that she had been married so many times. But initially, their relationship appeared idyllic. Lori convinced Charles to convert from Catholicism to Mormonism, and he did. And the blended family seemed extremely happy in Arizona. However, Lori was reportedly still struggling to cope with what she claimed her ex Joseph had done to her children. She was also in the middle of a bitter custody battle with him, and that didn't turn out in her favor. Lori started putting up photos of the temple everywhere around the house, and she really wanted to become more spiritual. But even that could not make her put vengeance aside. She would often even say in front of the children that she wanted Joseph dead. And in 2007, Alex Cox, Lori's brother, actually attacked Joseph when Lori didn't get what she wanted in the custody battle. Many believe that Lori was behind this and actually urged Alex to do this. Alex tased him and actually spent 90 days in jail for the incident. He goes on to joke about this in one of his stand-up comedy gigs.
I was fortunate enough to do a little jail time last year. I'll confess to you guys. You ever had something that you knew was the right thing to do, but it turns out that later on it was a felony? This is a true story. I found out that my ex-brother-in-law was a pedophile, so I took a stun gun and I discharged it right in his nutsack. And I did. And in Texas, that's a felony. I'm thinking, maybe I'll get a handshake or a parade or something. I got probation.
In 2013, another significant change occurred when Charles Vallow's sister Kay and her husband Larry Woodcock took in their grandson Joshua Jackson, affectionately known as JJ. JJ had been diagnosed with autism and his biological parents were unable to provide the care he required. Kay and Larry, though willing to step up as grandparents, recognized their limitations in their ability to meet JJ's complex needs. Seeing Lori's reputation as a devoted mother, they approached her and Charles to inquire about adopting JJ. They agreed, and the process of legally adopting the boy began. So now, Lori was a mother of 3. Colby, her eldest son, who had already moved out to pursue his adult life, Tylee, her teenage daughter, and young JJ, her adopted son. And life with JJ as part of the family seemed to be going great. It seemed like Charles and Lori genuinely loved him. Tylee embraced her role as a big sister, showering JJ with love and affection. They really made sure that JJ got all the care he needed, and Charles even got him a service dog named Bailey that was a great comfort for him and was always at his side. Bailey was a black Labradoodle that became JJ's best friend and helped him to sleep through the night. Larry and Kay also remained a massive part of JJ's life and would spend a lot of time with him and cherish every moment they got to see him.
Welcome to Coastal Cruise Change.
Turn out the lights. The party's over. They say that all good things must end. Call it a night. The party's over.
You need to go on American Idol.
Johnny as Papa.
But you gotta do the Coastal Cruise Change.
It's welcome to Coastal Cruise Change. Welcome to the Coastal Cruise Change.
In December of 2014, Lori became more and more focused on her spiritual journey. She started telling her friends and family about these wonderful spiritual experiences she was having. And then all of a sudden, one day, she told Charles that she had another encounter with a spiritual being, and this being told her that they had to move to Hawaii. Now, Charles actually listened to Lori, and they bought a juice bar in Kauai, Hawaii, and moved there with JJ and Tylee. Colby, Lori's oldest, was away at college at the time, but he would often come and visit, and JJ and Tylee seemed to love Hawaii, and Lori and Charles seemed to enjoy it too. The family started attending the LDS church on the island, and there Lori met April Raymond, and the two of them became very close friends. April was also divorced, and she found great comfort in her friendship with Lori. They shared a lot and had similar backgrounds. April had stated that Charles and Lori seemed to have it all, and the family just looked perfect. But as time went on, Lori started complaining about Charles to April. Lori would say to April that Charles just wasn't her spiritual equal, and this really bothered her. Charles was really trying his best, but he just could not live up to Lori's standards spiritually, and she was becoming more and more extreme in her beliefs. She started telling April that the angel Moroni would come and visit her and minister to her. The angel Moroni is a well-known figure in the LDS church. He is believed to be a resurrected ancient prophet who visited Joseph Smith, the founder of the church, and guided him to the golden plates from which the Book of Mormon was translated. In 2015, someone recommended a series of books to Lori. The series of books were called Standing in Holy Places, and it was written by a man named Chad Daybell. Lori read the books and she became obsessed with Chad's work. She started recommending these books to everyone she knew. Who is Chad Daybell? Well, Chad is a writer and a devout Mormon and was known for his more radical beliefs within the LDS community. His views were unconventional, even by Mormon standards. He was married to his wife Tammy, and together they had 5 children and lived in Springville, Utah. Together, Chad and Tammy opened Spring Creek Book Company, and this is where Chad published most of his own books. His books were pretty much always focused on the end times. Some were fiction, but they were all about the LDS faith and stories about Doomsday. The Standing in Holy Places series he wrote was his bestseller by far. The series consists of 5 books, and what do you know? It's all about the LDS and Doomsday. So Chad was known to be very focused on the end times, and he often appeared on a podcast called Preparing a People. Chad cultivated a reputation for claiming extraordinary abilities. He professed direct communication with God, the capacity to converse with the deceased, and vivid near-death experiences that supposedly granted him profound spiritual insights. He also claimed that he was able to label people with a number system to indicate how light and dark they were spiritually. His predictions became audacious as he announced that the world would end on the 22nd of July in 2020 and that only 144,000 would be saved, which would include him and other members of the LDS Church. He believed himself to be a prophet, and it was almost like he believed that his books were like scripture. In June of 2015, Chad and his wife Tammy, following a purported divine vision, relocated their family of 7 to Salem, Idaho. Salem is very close to a town called Rexburg, and Chad had declared Rexburg the New Jerusalem. This move was a direct result of Chad's belief that a higher power had directed them to this specific location. Reportedly, there were not enough resources for JJ's needs on the island, and that is why after 3 years of living in Hawaii, Lori and Charles decided to move to Chandler, Arizona. They moved to Chandler, Arizona in 2017, and they got a house there. They enrolled the kids in school and got on with their lives. At this point in time, Colby, Lori's eldest, was attending college, and he had started a relationship with a young woman by the name of Kelsey. Things became serious with Kelsey very quickly, and Colby asked for her hand in marriage. Lori was not happy at all because Kelsey was not a Mormon and she was not willing to convert. Kelsey was a Christian, and Colby actually started going to Kelsey's church. This, of course, infuriated Lori. She felt that Kelsey was pulling Colby away from the LDS church, and she really just didn't like her because of that. Kelsey has said that Lori started to act really strange after the engagement, and it was as if she was competing with her for Colby's affection. She said this is the time that she really started to realize how manipulative and passive-aggressive Lori could be. Regardless of all of that, Colby and Kelsey tied the knot. Charles, Lori, and JJ attended the wedding, but Tylee was not there. When Colby asked his mom where Tylee was, she just said that Tylee was skiing and she couldn't make it. Colby was very hurt by this, and reportedly, he felt almost like his mom did it on purpose to hurt him just because he married a Christian girl. On the 3rd of April 2018, Joseph Ryan, Lori's ex-husband, passed away unexpectedly. Authorities attributed his death to a suspected heart attack. This was a big shock to everyone. There are many who believe that Joseph was actually murdered, but there is no proof of that. However, in my opinion, there are some very suspicious circumstances surrounding his death, and I would not be shocked if something sinister happened there. After Colby got married, Lori's beliefs started to get even more radical. She was fixated on the end times, and she was genuinely terrified of it. She started buying canned food in bulk, powdered milk, rice, and anything she could store to help them survive the end times. She became extremely close with her brother, Alex Cox, and he also became more radical in his beliefs. They would spend a lot of time together and would listen to Preparing a People podcast together. Around this time, Lori also formed a very close friendship with a woman named Melanie Gibb. And remember Melanie because she plays a massive role in this case. The two of them bonded over their mutual beliefs and focus on the end times.
Would it be fair to say you know Chad and Lori better than anybody?
Probably.
And you know their beliefs?
Yep.
You know their activities? You know more about this story probably than anybody else other than them.
Yeah, I think so.
You told me.
Then Lori also met a lady named Zulema Pastenes at the LDS church, and she also became a part of Lori's group, as did Lori's brother Alex Cox. On December 5th of 2018, the Preparing a People podcast hosted a conference, and one of the main speakers at this event was none other than Chad Daybell. Lori asked her best friend Melanie Gibb and some of her family members to attend the conference with her. This was the first time that Lori and Chad met in person.
2018. So did you introduce them?
I don't know if I did or she just went up to the table. I can't recall.
And was there anything unusual or magical or different about when they met?
So we were there for 2 or 3 days, and I think he was there for 2 days, and she talked to him a lot about his books, And so she asked a lot of questions, and she was very interested in what he thought, and she was interested in what she knew. And so they just started talking about these different beliefs that generally are not something you learn in church. And so they started to kind of develop that connection right there.
By this point, Lori had become deeply immersed in Chad's teachings, especially his apocalyptic beliefs. Their encounter sparked an immediate and intense connection fueled by a shared belief in past life marriages. Chad told Lori that they had been married multiple times before in previous lives, a notion she readily accepted.
Some of his understandings about multiple lives and things of that nature. But at that point, he had already shared with her when they met in St. George that they had been married multiple times before. So that was established when they first met.
Chad told Lori when they first met that they had been married before?
Not in this, right now in this earth life, but in multiple earth lives.
In a previous life? Mm-hmm. And did Lori have an issue with that?
No, she seemed to understand that teaching already, that she had learned already through podcasts. So it wasn't something that was...
Foreign,
right.
After the conference, Lori and Chad maintained contact, which quickly escalated into an affair. This newfound relationship coincided with a significant shift in Lori's behavior, marked by increasingly extreme religious beliefs and erratic conduct. Lori believed that Chad was what she was looking for spiritually, and that her husband Charles just couldn't match up to Chad spiritually. Interestingly, Lori would share many personal and intimate details with her best friend Melanie Gibb about her relationship with Chad Daybell. So Melanie Gibb was well aware of what was going on between Lori and Chad.
So they're going on jogs together. He's talking about these multiple probations. The conference ends, and what happens from there?
So he goes back home, and I just know that they're communicating on the phone every single day. I do know that. She would let me know. Yeah.
Did you ever think, she might be falling in love with him?
Yeah, I knew that they pretty much hit it off.
Did you wonder, hold on, she's married and he's married too, and they both have kids? Was that a thought you ever expressed to Lori?
Well, I did actually offer the idea. I'm like, why don't you just go ahead and get a divorce? And they were told that they weren't allowed to.
They weren't allowed to?
Yeah.
Because of church teachings, or?
No, something that they received through the other side of the veil, how they would speak about it. And said, no, we're not allowed to do that.
So they received like a spiritual prompting or a revelation, or...
However he got his revelation.
Charles, Lori's husband, became increasingly concerned as Lori began to exhibit bizarre behavior, including the belief that he had been replaced by a dark spirit named Ned Schneider, and that she herself was a god. She even told some of her friends that she was expecting a call from someone who would tell her that Charles had passed away.
Let's talk a little bit about Charles, and then we'll get back to September when you got to the house. Because from what I understand, Lori received a revelation that Charles was supposed to die in an accident on his way home from Texas.
Correct.
He didn't die. So what was her reaction at that point?
Well, I asked her, I'm like, why didn't he die? You were told he was supposed to die. Why didn't he die? And she said, well, I think she went to Chad and asked because I don't think she knew the answer to that. And so he let her know that the accident that was supposed to happen didn't because of people's choices. So when things didn't go according to plan or according to a timing, it was only because of agency, and it would change. Oh, it's because somebody changed their agency. Very inconsistent.
These delusions were accompanied by more tangible actions such as the theft of $35,000 from Charles's bank account and threats on his life. Unaware of Lori's affair with Chad Daybell, Charles just thought that she was having a mental breakdown. Lori also kicked Charles out of their home and refused to let him see their kids. And this is when Charles decided to phone the police on the 31st of January 2019.
Threat to your children. I don't know what she's going to do with them. I don't know if she's going to flee with them, she's going to hurt them.
So what makes her a danger to herself and to others?
Threatened me, murder me, kill me.
She threatened to murder you?
Yes. And she said,
how did she do that?
My bishop right there is in the car. He was on the phone with me today when she said, I will have you destroyed.
Listening to that now, after knowing what goes on to happen, is absolutely chilling. Charles was just a concerned husband, and he was just trying to tell people about his wife's strange behavior. He was very worried about her. While all of this was going on, Lori decided that she was going to phone her oldest son, Colby, and she told him that she found out that Charles was cheating on her. Which, by the way, there is no evidence of that to this day, okay? And it is pretty rich coming from a woman who we now know was having a full-blown affair with Chad Daybell. I mean, she and Chad even had secret phones that they used to communicate with each other.
But she had 3 phones and was getting calls on all of them.
Yeah, it was hard to track her at times. You didn't know which phone she was going to pick up.
Why did she need so many phones?
Well, she had one special phone that her and Chad would communicate with, and he had a special phone outside of his cell phone number. So it was just for their personal communication.
So one specific phone for Chad and Lori to communicate with.
Yeah.
And why could they not communicate on their normal phone?
I guess in case somebody picked it up and saw their conversations.
But when Lori told Colby that Charles was cheating, Colby believed his mom. I mean, why wouldn't he? Why would his mom make something like that up? So Colby decided to phone Charles, and he confronted him about the cheating, and he said, how could you cheat on my mom? And when Charles heard this, he freaked out. He was trying to tell Colby about everything his mom was doing. But Colby thought that Charles's crazy reaction came from a place of guilt, and he decided that he no longer wanted to speak with him. Charles was concerned about Lori's mental health, and he tried to reach out to her friends and family to get her some help. He emailed all of her family members telling them that she claimed to be a god, and he told them about all the crazy things she was doing and claiming. But the only one who actually listened to him and spoke to him was Lori's brother Adam, who lived in Kansas. But ultimately, it all became just too much for Charles, and he decided to file for divorce in February of 2019. Once Charles initiated divorce proceedings, Lori left her kids in the care of family, and she vanished for 58 days. While I think it's more than likely that Chad Daybell knew where she was during these 58 days, I have no evidence to prove that. After her harrowing 58-day disappearance, Lori returned home. The details of her return remain shrouded in mystery, but Charles's decision to cancel the divorce proceedings suggests an attempt to reconcile. Despite her return, Lori continued to exhibit bizarre behavior and made outlandish claims. She was still having an affair with Chad Daybell, and even took the time to visit the Mormon temple with him, where they said they were spiritually sealed together.
Can you tell me about Chad and Lori sealing themselves in the temple to each other? And for those people that aren't familiar, couples will go to the temple and be married and sealed together, meaning they believe that their relationship will continue after this life ends. Did Chad and Lori talk about what they were doing in the temple together, which would be against church policy and procedure?
Right. Chad didn't tell me, but Lori did.
What did she tell you?
And she just told me they went together, and they felt that they were sealed by those on the other side of the veil that had the authority to do that.
So they were in the temple together
right
when this happened,
right.
Yet she's
That's
still
right.
married to Charles, and he's still married to Tammy.
Correct.
And when you would raise this with them, that, hey, you're still married, what was their reaction, or at least Lori's, because I'm sure you never had a chance to talk to Chad
Right.
about it.
She said that it was okay that they did this because they had been married so many times before that their spouses would understand someday.
Pretty wild. And then when Charles went away on a business trip, Lori took the drastic step of canceling his flight back home and got her brother Alex to go and fetch his truck from the airport. Alex also went and removed all of Charles' belongings from the home. When Charles made his way back, he saw that his truck was gone and that his wife and kids were not at home. But he knew that Lori would take JJ to school the next day, so he waited there. And when he saw her car pull up, he grabbed her car keys and purse and left. After that, he immediately contacted the police again to help him navigate this increasingly chaotic situation.
What's going on? Why is she here and you're not here, or are you staying here with her?
Long story. She's had kind of a break from reality. She thinks you're LDS?
Yes.
She thinks she's married to Moroni in the past. This is her
You think she's what?
We're married to Moroni, the top of the temple.
Angel,
Moroni.
LDS, Angel.
They don't let me in there.
Probation, and she knows when the second coming is happening next year, so does the prophet.
Okay.
He knows it, she knows about it. She meets with Moroni, Jesus Christ, face to face in the temple every day. I've tried to support her as much as I could, but it's gotten really, really bad lately. She's had a break. She says, I'm Nick Schneider. I've taken over Charles's body, and Charles has been killed. I'm going to kill you. You're going to be murdered today or tomorrow. I can do it. I'm not going with my priesthood, with my power. She does priesthood blessings. She does.
So who's Nick Schneider? Okay.
That's who I'm supposed to
Okay. Right. Okay. So he's not at church. He's not.
She took my truck from the airport. So in fact, she took my truck from the airport last night when I flew in. She canceled my flights. I had to buy another ticket to come back home. I've got a 6-year-old with special needs.
Right. And he's safe at school somewhere.
Right.
Okay.
For now. If she knows I'm here, she's going to go get it.
Okay. What car? What is she driving?
A black Infiniti QX80.
And you've looked all through the parking lots.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Do you have the license plate on that?
It's KDM 62 or 63 or 67. It's handicapped. Okay.
The pin. There it is.
And I don't know where she put my truck. She took $35,000 in cash out of our account yesterday. Sent me payroll. I mean, I just never thought she would do anything like this, but she's just lost touch with reality. I'm not me. She yells. She's unhinged. It's scared the crap out of me.
Okay. Now, I'm assuming you guys have phones. Is that an iPhone?
Yes.
Are you able to track to see where her phone is right now?
Her
I
phone's
hear
right here with me.
iPhones.
Her phone's with me.
Oh, your phone. Now, how did you get her phone?
Because it was in the car this morning when she pulled up to school. I took the keys out of her purse out so she couldn't leave. That's when I called you guys.
Okay.
Somehow she has a spare set of keys and left with my dog. And so I don't know where I saw this in her purse. So I think she's here. They were going to give me a key to the room. I was going to go, if you guys will come with me, see if she's in there.
We can't just go in. If you're not allowed to go in, we can't either. We can
on
just.
my credit card, she did the
Okay, that's going to be up to them if they allow you to go in. Now, we can't. Now, you guys are
you guys
married,
wait
so
here?
there shouldn't be. No, we're waiting for right now. What we're doing is my sergeant wanted to get some information from you. I was about to call you, but then Gary said you were here. We are just going to wait a second. My sergeant, they're on their way because we have a sergeant training. So they're going to be here. They have the paperwork. So if she is here, we knock on the door, she's here. That's why we need the paperwork in hand. Okay, so we can take her.
Tell me again real quick.
Charles was begging police to force Lori to go for psychiatric evaluation. But unfortunately, his pleas sort of fell on deaf ears. Because that same day, Lori went to the police station with her daughter Tylee and her best friend Melanie Gibb and told the police her side. She claimed that they were separating and that she found out that he was cheating. She successfully managed to convince the police that he was the crazy one and not her.
What happened? Why don't you tell us what happened?
So yesterday, I got in an argument with my husband on the phone, and he was in Texas working, and I found some stuff that he'd been doing, so he was really defensive. And so I took the kids. We spent the night in a hotel because I knew he was coming home. And so this morning when I took my son to school, which he goes I went into the school to take him into school. He was waiting somewhere and stole my purse out of the car, my whole purse. So my phone, my wallet, my money, my everything was in there. So I had the door locked, but the sunroof was open because we have a service dog and he was in the car and I didn't want to, my son was kind of throwing a fit. I didn't want to get them both out of the car because it was a mess this morning. And we didn't have any of our stuff because we spent the night in a hotel and he was out of his element. And so I didn't lock the door for the first time ever, and he whatever, either got it out I don't remember if the door was locked, he got it out, or he reached through the sunroof and just got it. But then he started texting all my family and all my friends and impersonating me and got my friend lured over to the house to meet him. where he had like kicked in the door to get into the house and stuff. So.
And he did that this morning.
Last night.
Last night.
Okay. Which I'm glad we weren't there. So.
Right.
Right. And so when I got there, I'm like, Lori? Where's Lori?
He
Oh,
texted her from my phone because he was pretending to be me, saying, "Oh, come meet me at the house," and whatever. So my friend told me, my friend that's a police officer, he said, "Go file a report, file a restraining order, all that stuff." I don't want to do all that stuff. I just wanted to be on record, and if you can get the purse back, that would be lovely, because all my stuff is in there. I'm really mad about my lip gloss.
What about credit cards?
Well, he has all the cards and all the
Yeah.
stuff, so he's mad because I took the money out of our account. It's a joint account, so he wants me to give him money.
Okay, well, that's all a civil issue.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Purse, there's no reason why he's walking around with your purse, your ID, that he doesn't have a right to.
right.
Married
that's
or
what
not
I'm saying.
married.
All
I
the
mean,
rest of the stuff is our joint stuff together.
yeah.
So.
Lori did as the police suggested, and she voluntarily went for her psych evaluation, and she was never committed.
Did you go with her to that evaluation?
I did.
And what was that like?
They received her, and she said, oh, you know, she passed with flying colors, and she got out quickly, and I waited on the outside for her, you know, and then Tylee is actually the one that picked us up from there.
And when you say passed with flying colors, do you know what they did? Was it just an exam where she filled out a questionnaire, or she met with a doctor?
They went in the back room, and they just talked to her about all kinds of stuff and asked her all kinds of questions. She didn't tell me in detail all the things I probably didn't want to know, but yeah, she seemed that she wasn't evaluated as mentally ill.
And now she was really putting Charles through a lot. I mean, this was not just normal marital spats. She was doing and claiming some crazy things. It became clear to Charles that she was just not willing to work on this marriage, and they separated. But Lori, JJ, and Tylee stayed in the home, and Charles got a new place for himself. But Charles was still paying for everything because remember, Lori didn't work. Once the separation happened, Lori had her group over to the house often. This group included Chad Daybell, Melanie Gibb, Alex Cox, her brother, Zulema, and Lori's niece, also named Melanie, not to be confused with Melanie Gibb. And I will share a bit more on her later.
Would it be fair to say that you, Chad, Lori, Melanie, Alex, Zulema, you six were kind of a close group of friends, kind of a tight-knit family in a way?
Yes.
Lori also started talking on LDS podcast with Chad and Melanie Gibb.
We are here with Lori and Melanie this morning on our podcast, Build a Fire. And this morning we had an opportunity to interview someone named Chad Daybell, who's had many experiences with the Savior of this world. Because of our love for Jesus Christ, we wanted other people to know how much He is an invitation to come unto Him, how much He wants us to become part of His life, because He's already there. He's just waiting for us. And so we want to talk to Chad about his personal experiences with the Savior, where he's had many experiences because of his near-death experiences, and I'm sure more personal ones as well, that he has seen our Savior, and he wants us to know that Jesus wants us to come unto Him and to come to know Him.
So we're here with Chad Daybell, and he is on our Feel the Fire podcast today, and we really want to talk to Chad about his experiences with Jesus. And we know that you've had some pretty amazing experiences, and that's what we're here to do, is to testify of Jesus and who He is and who He is to us. So Chad, hi.
Hello. Glad to be on the podcast with you.
Thank you. We're excited to have you and happy that you could come on with us today. Why don't you start with like your first experience is with Jesus and kind of who He is to you.
Okay. I grew up in a Christian home, but honestly, other than Sunday, we didn't really talk about Jesus at all. My parents grew up in the 60s, and they were doing a good job as parents, but religion always kind of took a back seat to everything else. But when I was 18 years old, I decided to serve a mission for my church. And as part of that, we went to a training center. And my first real experience with Jesus was about 2 weeks into that training, where one of the other missionaries read a poem about how Jesus came to earth to sacrifice for us so that we could someday return and live with him. And it made me feel closer to Jesus than I ever have. It made him feel like a real person to me. He wasn't just a painting on the wall or somebody that we said his name at the end of a prayer.
Lori and Chad's affair became extremely serious, and his influence on her increased day by day. Chad was what his group of followers called a visionary, and had an incredible ability of convincing people of his interpretation of things, and that his claims and visions were like gospel. Together, Chad and Lori created a fantasy world filled with delusions, and they were completely focused on their desire for one another.
Lori, from what I understand, said that she has been on 21 planets, and Chad has been on 31. Have you heard that before?
I wouldn't say planets, but I would just say lives.
Lives. So she's had 21 lives, and he's had 31. That he was a Holy Ghost and has had 5 lives on this earth, and she's had 4 lives.
Correct.
And
well, no, I think she had 5 lives on this earth.
She had 5 lives on this. They both had 5 lives on this earth.
I believe so.
And Chad made a portal in Lori's closet so she can visit him. What does that mean? That sounds kind of crazy, I'll be honest.
It does sound crazy. So a portal is something that he created for her. I don't know exactly how he did it, but maybe...
Like a box?
No, it's just a spot where he just maybe said a prayer or, however words he uses to create this portal. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't there. I don't know.
Sure.
But it's not like he could come through it physically, but it was a way for them to interact spiritually.
I see.
Yeah.
So it was a sacred area where if she wanted to connect with him, she could go sit, and then they would have a connection.
And Chad didn't just verbally share his revelations and spiritual insights with his group. No, he actually documented this so-called doctrine or belief system of his.
Were their beliefs and this belief system written down or recorded in any way?
Yeah. There was paperwork that showed all the 12 apostles to the Old Testament apostles, prophets, people and their the friends that they knew currently, to maybe some movie stars or people, just in general. They had maybe 4 pages. I don't know how many pages. And that was created by Chad, and he would say, well, these are who they are, this is what lives they live, this is how many times they've been on. So yes, it was a whole document, it was a whole plan. I mean, they would write down on paper, like, this is how many lives, this is what it needs to get to this level, you need to go to this many. I mean, it was quite the plan, if that makes sense. It was quite the
detailed
list. I mean, it was, and I know that Charles was aware of it because he sent it out to a lot of people.
So Chad came up with all of this on his own?
That I know of. I don't know if he got it from anywhere else. I've never heard that before.
And movie stars were on it?
I think so, or either he told us personally. I didn't look at the whole list, so I can't say. I just kind of browsed it a little bit because I didn't feel like it was for me to look at.
Yeah.
So I kind of skimmed it a little bit, so...
Now, another thing that Chad taught this group was that people could be taken over by dark spirits. And once they were taken over by these dark spirits, he would refer to those people as zombies. The majority of the group actually believed this, but Lori's best friend, Melanie Gibb, had her doubts, but she kept them to herself. But this is how Lori learned that her husband, Charles Vallow, was a zombie. Chad phoned her and told her.
So the first person, as we all know, is Charles, was considered one, and that was brought to Lori's attention by Chad on the phone call. I was in her house when that phone call came in, and he described to her that Charles was no longer Charles, that this unclean spirit that was friends with Charles on the earth, when they used to be friends, had now passed on, and now he is this unclean spirit on the earth roaming around, and now he's attached himself to Charles, and now he has entered his body and taken over it. So he's not really Charles anymore. He's now this guy named Ned Snyder. And so it was when she told me, and she seemed blown out by it. You know, I could tell she was like, that is really different. And she told me, and I thought, that is very unusual.
So all of this was pretty strange, but Chad managed to convince the group of this, especially Lori and her brother Alex. They really believed that this was the truth.
Lori knew how many zombies were in every state.
Yeah.
And she could tell who was a zombie and who wasn't.
Well, not their name. She couldn't know the whole world's name, so she would just have a number Chad would give her. Like, I guess he would receive revelation on, okay, there's this many. So it was their commission, though, to get rid of all the zombies before, tribulations came upon us. That was their goal.
Following her separation from Charles, Lori started to form a very close bond with her niece, Melani Boudreaux. Once again, not to be confused with Lori's best friend, Melanie Gibb. Melanie was married to Brandon Boudreaux and was also a devout Mormon. Lori had introduced Chad Daybell's books to Melanie, who also became obsessed with his teachings and joined Lori and Chad's group. Together, Lori and Melanie delved deeper into the apocalyptic beliefs, adopting increasingly radical viewpoints. However, Melanie's husband Brandon was reportedly resistant to Chad's teachings, a stance that, of course, displeased Lori. Believing that Brandon had a dark spirit and was hindering Melanie's spiritual growth, Lori allegedly began to sow discord between the couple. In June of 2019, Melanie made the decision to divorce Brandon, a move that aligned with Lori's wishes. Brandon believes that his divorce was a direct result of Lori's influence and her radical beliefs. He maintains that their marriage was stable until Melanie became involved with Lori's group, suggesting that Lori's teachings and beliefs played a significant role in the breakdown of their marriage. On the 2nd of July 2019, Charles discovered an email that Lori had written on his behalf without him even knowing about it. The email was addressed to Chad Daybell and it read, "Hello Chad, I hope you are doing well. This is Charles Vallow from Arizona. We really enjoyed having you stay with us back in November when you came to the Preparing a People conference. I appreciated you taking the time to talk to me about the book I've been working on. Well, more than 6 months later, I still haven't made much progress on it, but I feel an urgency to get it done. As the managing partner of Right Planning Group, I'm going to have the opportunity to speak at various conventions beginning in the fall, but everyone says I need to have a book available that summarizes my life and shares the principles I follow. So I will cut to the chase. I'm willing to pay you well to help me get this book into shape as my ghostwriter. I really liked your autobiography and the tone you took in sharing your experiences without preaching. Is there any way you could come here for a couple of days and help me get the book underway? I feel talking in person would be much more valuable than a phone call or video chat, mainly because I would like you to read through some of my journals and explain to me how the publishing industry works. It would help me know whether I truly have a book in me and whether you want to team up on it. I played minor league baseball and have plenty of stories that my audience could relate to, along with the knowledge I've gained running my own company. So I do feel the book would contain valuable information even beyond the convention circuit. I'm out of town until Saturday, but I would gladly fly you down here early next week before the holiday and cover your expenses. You could stay in our guest room like before, or in a hotel if you prefer. I hate to take you away from your family, but I know this book is vital to my speaking success. I understand if you don't want to take part in the project, but I would definitely make it worth your time. With admiration, Charles." As soon as Charles found this email, he sent it through to Lori's brother Adam and told him to see what Lori did. He told him he wasn't sure about the relationship between Lori and Chad at that time, but they were definitely up to something. Charles started to connect the dots and he started to figure out she was probably having an affair with this guy. It is believed that Lori wrote this email to Chad from Charles so that Chad could show it to his wife and she could feel like Chad was going over to Arizona to work with Charles. But meanwhile, he was going there to see Lori. Charles was becoming more and more suspicious the more he thought about it. And then he decided he would email Tammy, Chad's wife. And his email to her read, "Tammy, my name is Charles Vallow. I have some vital and disturbing information regarding your husband and my wife, Lori. This is your work email, so I'll wait to send you the evidence that is very disturbing. You may call or email me from the address where you can receive the information. I apologize to be the one sending this, but something has to be done. I feel it's best if I shed some light on the issue. Regards, Charles Vallow." Once Charles sent this email to Tammy, he texted Lori and said, Charles told Lori's brother Adam everything that happened, and Adam was also becoming very worried about what Lori was saying and doing. And he spoke to his parents, and together they decided that they would come together and try to talk some sense into Lori. Adam tried to phone his brother Alex because he knew he was visiting Lori at the time, but Alex avoided his call. Meanwhile, Lori somehow caught wind of this intervention and she quickly reached out to her brother Alex. And in case you missed it earlier, Lori claimed that Charles was no longer Charles. She said that Charles had been taken over by a dark spirit named Ned Schneider, and her and Chad would refer to these possessed people as zombies. On the 11th of July 2019, Charles, still being separated from Lori, made his way over to her house to fetch JJ. Alex, her brother, was staying there at the time because he was visiting. Now, reportedly, when Charles got to the house, he and Lori started to argue. But what really happened inside of that home is a mystery to this day. But what we do know is that Lori's brother, Alex Cox, took out his firearm and shot Charles. And sadly, Charles Vallow passed away. Now, I want you to listen to the 911 call that was made by Alex Cox.
911, where is your emergency?
It's at 5531 South Four Peaks.
You need
Yes.
police or paramedics?
Both. I'm in police and an ambulance. I got in a fight with my brother-in-law and I shot him in self-defense.
Okay, let me get the medics on the phone. And is he hurt or is he alive? Or?
Yeah, there's blood. He's not moving.
How long ago did this happen?
A couple of minutes.
Fire department, what is the address of the emergency?
5531.
And what is the emergency?
I shot my brother-in-law.
Okay, what part of his body is injured?
In the chest.
I'm sorry, where?
In the chest.
Okay, is he awake and responsive or unconscious?
Unconscious.
Okay, is he breathing?
I can't tell.
Okay, are you willing to go over to him and check?
Sure.
Okay, do you just let me know if you see his chest going up and down? How old is he?
It's not moving. He's 60.
Okay, and are you wanting to start CPR?
No, I don't know how to do that.
I can walk you through it.
Okay.
And what I want you to do is you're going to put one hand in the center of his chest.
Yeah.
The other hand's going to go right on top of it.
Okay.
You're going to interlock your fingers, keeping your arms straight, and you're going to press down hard and fast into his chest. You're going to go 2 inches down and fairly quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4. PD, we're going to stage for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, just keep going with those compressions. PD, did you have any other questions?
Yes, what's your name, sir?
My name is Alex. Last name is Cox, C-O-X.
And where are you in the house now?
In the living room.
And where is the gun?
It's in a bedroom.
Who else is there in the house with you?
Just me.
Okay, were you guys arguing when this happened?
Yeah,
And you said there's nobody else there, just you and him, correct?
correct.
Was he armed also, or just you, or what happened there?
Yeah, he came at me with a bat. No, he lives in Houston.
He's what, married to your sister? Is she, where is she?
Correct. No, I think she's taking her son to school.
Some officers should be there. Let me know when they get inside to you. Is the front door open?
Yeah. It's unlocked.
Have a seat. Yeah.
It's unsettling to hear the calmness in Alex Cox's voice over this 911 call, especially if you consider the gravity of the situation. Even if he acted in self-defense, one would at least expect like some sort of shock or distress over the situation. His apparent lack of emotions just raised so many red flags for me. But let's quickly have a look at the body cam footage of when police arrive at the scene.
Who else is in the house? No one else is in the house. Okay, just have a seat right there. Yeah. Let's get FD in here. Yeah. Have a seat.
Yeah. 18 safe secure. We got the gentleman out.
You have some ID on you, sir?
Yeah.
What happened today? How did it get to this?
I don't know. He was enraged.
What's going on? What happened?
Oh, he was talking with my sister earlier.
No, what happened today, though? Like, just in the last 20 minutes?
He came at me with a bat.
Okay. Was he living here or
no.
visiting?
He came to pick up his son.
Okay, is the son inside?
No. My sister took him to school.
Okay, so it was just you at the house?
Yes.
And he came, how long, what time did he come to pick up the son?
I don't know, 20 minutes ago maybe.
Okay, so you know who he is, let him in?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think they were talking earlier, then she left, and then he got into it with me.
Like what? What do you mean?
I don't know, he was accusing me of...
Come on over here. That truck's going to be really loud. What was he accusing you of?
He was just yelling at me.
Okay, what was he yelling at you about?
About my sister because I've broken up the tussle with them earlier. And he told me not to interfere anymore with them or I'd pay. And he came at me with a bat.
Okay, so he showed up in the house with a bat in his hand?
No.
Okay, so...
There was a scuffle earlier with my sister and my niece. My niece got involved.
About earlier meaning earlier this week, earlier
No,
this morning?
just this morning, before they left.
Before your wife left?
My sister.
Before your sister left?
Yeah.
Okay, who lives here with you?
Nobody. I don't live here. My sister lives here and my niece lives here.
And you're just visiting?
I was visiting for the night.
Okay, so you're over here visiting your sister and your niece?
Yes.
Okay, and there was a tussle between your sister and her husband?
Yes.
And does the husband live here or no?
No. He
Okay.
lives in Houston.
Okay, is he an ex-husband or just current husband?
They're working on that.
Gotcha. So at some point earlier today, they get into some type of domestic?
Yeah, just this morning, then they left, and then he came at me.
They left meaning who? Both of parties?
Yeah, my sister took my niece and my nephew.
Okay, so they left.
To create some space from him, and then he came at me.
Okay, but did he leave also?
No.
He stayed here?
He stayed.
So you guys are kind of talking in between or what? Who are you? Who are you? No, just go back. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So it's just you and your brother-in-law?
Yes.
Okay. And kind of go through it. Did you say something like, hey, don't touch my sister, or
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And then he picked up the bat.
Where was the bat at?
In the living room.
Okay.
The guy inside's name?
No, I haven't got it. Charles is the husband of the occupants here, but I guess he lives where?
Houston.
You know his date of birth?
No.
From Houston?
Yeah.
Is this vehicle here? How did he get here?
Is it here from Texas?
No, that's my sister's car. I think he came in a rental car. I think his sister's in it.
You think your sister's in the rental car? Okay. So you get in an argument? What is it over?
Well, it was over my sister. He was getting physical with her, and so my niece came out with her bat, and then he took the bat away from her.
Wait a minute, I thought you said your niece left.
She did. This is before.
Okay. So before your sister and your niece left,
yeah.
At some point your sister and her husband are arguing.
Yes.
Verbal argument. And then your niece pulls out a bat?
Well, it wasn't verbal. He was getting close, and she came out to defend my sister with her bat.
Your niece?
Yes.
Okay.
And then she poked at him, and then he took it away.
Okay.
And then I stepped in and told them they needed to separate.
Right.
So then my sister leaves with my niece.
And how long ago did they leave? It's been like an hour, 10 minutes?
20 minutes maybe? I don't know.
Okay. So not terribly long.
No.
Oh, okay.
And then he's coming back at me, and he's still got the bat in his hand. Like, what are you doing?
And where are you at? Where are you both
in the
at?
living room.
Okay.
And then I turned around, and he hit me in the back of the head with the bat. So I went to my room and got my gun. I always carry it.
You went to your room, meaning the room you're staying in?
Yeah.
Okay, and you brought a gun with you?
Yes.
Do you always bring a gun?
I have a concealed carry always.
Okay.
Just to be safe.
As you can see, Alex seems very calm and relaxed and doesn't seem to be affected at all by what happened. But we would at least expect Lori to be in some sort of distress about all of this. So let's have a look at how she reacted when she arrived at the scene.
Does your husband live here or no?
No, he lives in Houston.
Gotcha.
We just moved in here.
Gotcha. How long have you guys lived here?
I'm sorry?
How long have you lived here?
Like 3 weeks.
Oh, geez. Yeah, okay.
That's why the neighbors don't know us.
Gotcha.
Like, hi neighbor, sorry.
Are you working at all?
No.
Okay. And you're still about 5'6", 120?
It's truly disturbing to witness the cold and calculated demeanor Lori displayed following such a traumatic event. Her lack of emotion and seemingly nonchalant attitude towards the loss of her husband is deeply unsettling. The police's acceptance of her explanation, despite the numerous red flags, raises serious questions about the thoroughness of their investigation. Given Alex Cox's history of violence and his peculiar behavior after the shooting, it's perplexing the authorities didn't delve deeper into the circumstances surrounding Charles Vallows' death. The fact that Charles had previously reported threats from Lori and her unusual behavior further underscores the need for a more rigorous investigation. It's a good reminder that sometimes appearances can be deceiving and the truth can be far more sinister than it initially seems. Lori and Alex were questioned after the shooting, but despite the discrepancies in their stories, the police just accepted the self-defense theory and let them go and never questioned them again. If they had just investigated a little bit more, they would have found that Alex only phoned 911 43 minutes after he had spoken to Lori on the phone, and he only phoned Lori after he had shot Charles. That very same day, Lori phoned her oldest son Colby and told him that Charles had passed away. But she told him Charles passed away from a heart attack. She lied to her own son. And Colby was devastated because the last conversation he had with Charles was not good. And Charles was really the only man he ever considered a father figure. Colby made his way over to Arizona immediately, and when he got there, he found his uncle Alex with a bandage on his head, and his sister Tylee was distraught. This is when Colby found out how Charles really died, and he was in utter shock. The whole thing made him feel uneasy. I mean, why would his mom lie to him about something like that? He made his way back home and he told his wife Kelsey about it, and she instantly became suspicious of her mother-in-law, Lori. And the chilling details continue to unfold because the very same evening of Charles Vallows' death, Lori had a pool party at the crime scene. Neighbors reported hearing loud music, festive sounds. They said it just sounded like a big celebration. The following day, Lori decided to inform Charles's 2 adult sons about his death via text message. And from here on, his sons continue to try and find out what happened to their dad. But Lori just keeps evading their questions and she just gives them these vague answers. And she also had to then share the news with JJ's school that Charles had passed away. But she told the school that Charles had ended his own life. Then, just 4 days after Charles Vallows' death, Lori phoned his life insurance company and she filed a claim for Charles's $1 million life policy.
Claims Department, this is Robin. May I have the policy number?
Sure. It is...
Are you calling in reference to a death claim?
Yes.
Okay, one moment, please. May I have the name of the insured?
L. Charles Vallow.
And who am I speaking with?
This is Lori Vallow.
And your relationship to the insured?
He's my husband.
Okay, one moment. And what was the cause of his passing?
Well, he was shot.
Okay.
So I don't know how I want to put that.
Okay. All right. And I hate to ask, but is it?
Yeah,
you can just say yes or no. Was it a homicide?
No, it was an accident.
An accident. Okay. Are you aware of who the primary beneficiary of the policy is?
It's me.
Well, in fact, Lori was informed that Charles had changed the beneficiary and it was no longer her. He changed it to his sister Kay in March, who is also the grandmother of JJ. And that makes total sense to me if you consider how Lori was behaving. And he trusted Kay. He knew that she would take care of JJ.
She said she had $3 million of insurance on her head. Mm-hmm. Did she ever talk to you about Charles's insurance?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What did she say?
She said that he had, I think, about $1 million, and that she knew when he passed away that she thought she'd get the money.
So she talked about how when Charles dies, I'm going to get $1 million.
I don't know if she was 100% sure because she thought maybe possibly it could have been switched from her to Kay. So she wasn't sure if she was really going to get it or not.
But it was something she was thinking about and talking about.
Yeah, she didn't know about it.
And then when she found out it had been switched to Kay, what was that conversation like?
Well, she wasn't overjoyed about it. And she's like, well, Kay has the money now. But she also believed that Kay was a zombie as well.
After this news, Lori, of course, jumped on her phone and texted Chad Daybell about this. At this point in time, Lori started telling all of her friends and families that she had many enemies and that people were after her and that she needed to be extremely careful. Her family were concerned, but they didn't know what she was talking about. They probably thought that this was just her way of mourning the death of her husband after her brother had shot him. But in actual fact, there was something way more sinister going on. Lori then informed everyone that she and her kids JJ and Tylee were going to move. She didn't specify where she was going to move to. She just said it would be someplace cold and a place where they could start over. The truth was that she was moving to Rexburg, Idaho. This is the place that Chad Daybell declared the New Jerusalem, and also a town that was very close to where Chad lived with his wife Tammy and their 5 kids.
September of 2019, Lori moves to Rexburg.
Right.
Did you know she was going to move? Did she talk with you about this before?
Yep. Well, she didn't decide until, I think August maybe.
And how did she break the news to you?
Well, she said that first she thought Chad would come to be with her in Arizona. And then she said, I think I changed my plans. I think I'm supposed to be up there. He says I'm supposed to be up there, but I need to get my own answer to find out if I'm supposed to be there because she didn't really want to go there at first. And then she said, I was told, yes, I need to go, and she needed to be there by a certain time. And so she decided to go. And then she just told me that I need to go up there.
This is also when Lori decided to put JJ's service dog Bailey up for sale for $2,500. When Lori struggled to find a suitable buyer for Bailey, she contacted Neil Mesters, the owner of Dog Training Elite, where Charles had originally purchased the dog for JJ. She informed him of Charles's death, offering little detail, and explained that she was relocating to Idaho and couldn't take Bailey with her. Fortunately, Neil agreed to take Bailey back and eventually found a loving home for him with a family that had an autistic child. When Lori, Tylee, and JJ moved away, Colby and his wife Kelsey found out that they were expecting. Kelsey had some health issues and she had a high-risk pregnancy, and this, of course, made Colby shift his focus onto his wife, and they were preparing for their new bundle of joy. 9 months later, they welcomed a beautiful, healthy little girl into the world, and they named her Riley. With life being so busy, Colby one day realized that his interaction with his family was basically non-existent. At first, he didn't think much of it. He was almost blaming it on how busy he had been with his own new little family. But then he realized it had been a really long time since he had a real conversation with his sister Tylee. He received random texts from her now and then, but they were really close, so he wanted to reconnect with her. On the 10th of August 2019, Kay Woodcock, JJ's grandmother, FaceTimed him. The video call didn't last very long, but everything seemed fine. Sadly, this would be the last time that Kay would have any contact with JJ. On the 24th of September 2019, it was Tylee's birthday, and Colby texted his sister early in the morning. But something about Tylee's response didn't sit right with Colby. He knew his sister. And firstly, something that really stood out to him was the fact that everything in her text message was in lowercase. That was not Tylee's texting style. And from that moment, he had this horrible feeling on the inside that something was wrong. But he tried to convince himself that he was being paranoid. As the days went on, Colby continued to text Tylee, continued reaching out to her, but her responses remained strange to him, and he was asking her if he could phone him, but she kept avoiding him. And then he decided to phone his mom, Lori, to find out what was going on. He almost thought that perhaps Tylee was mad at him about something that he didn't even know about. But he said when he phoned his mom, Lori just acted so strange. He said she just said that Tylee was busy, she was making new friends, and she would just phone him when she had a chance. Regardless of this, Colby kept on reaching out to Tylee. And then one day, he just told her that he didn't believe that it was her that was texting him. And then he said he was going to phone her. And once he did that, he never received a response from Tylee again. He then also tried to phone his mom, but his mom had shut her phone off. There was no way for him to reach them. This is when Colby and his wife Kelsey really became concerned. Kelsey had always been careful when it came to Lori because of her strange behavior and strange beliefs, but now she was just downright suspicious of her. So Kelsey decided that she was going to do her own little investigation and just see if she could find out anything that could put them at ease with the whole situation. After Googling Lori's name, she came across the podcast that Lori had done with Chad and her friend Melanie Gibb. She listened to Lori's bizarre claims, and this scared her even more. But then she remembered that when Charles Vallow was still alive, he had sent a bunch of emails to the family warning them about Lori's behavior. At the time he sent the emails, Colby and Kelsey didn't even want to read them because they just didn't want to be any part of what sounded like an over-dramatic marital spat. So she decided to go and look at the emails that Charles had sent them back then. And when she read them, her heart dropped. There were many emails, but there were a few that stood out to Kelsey and made her sick to her stomach. There was one email where Charles claimed that Lori had called her daughter Tylee a dark spirit. But then Kelsey came across an email that had been sent to Lori and that Charles forwarded to the rest of the family. In this email, Lori's entire family and extended family's names are listed. Next to the names, there were numbers and either a L for a light spirit or a D for a dark spirit. This is in part how it was explained to Lori in the email. Most LDS members are level 2. Most bishops and ward leaders are level 3. Most stake presidents and general authorities are level 4. Most apostles are level 5. A few are level 6. The dark side can only match the light numbers, not exceed them. That is why there are a few 5s on Earth right now. It limits the dark's power. 2s and 3s are fluid and can change sides during Earth life. 4.1 and above have made covenants to their side. They rarely switch sides. As Kelsey went through this list, she was alarmed to see that not only was she listed as a 3 dark spirit, but Tylee, Lori's own daughter, was listed as a 4.1 dark spirit. The email had been sent to Lori by none other than Chad Daybell, but Colby and Kelsey had never heard of him. They didn't know who Chad Daybell was. Charles was trying to warn everybody, but nobody listened to him. So Chad had taken it upon himself to rate people as dark or light. He claimed that he could identify that in people and see if they had evil in them. And Lori believed this wholeheartedly, as did the whole group. He claimed that sometimes dark spirits would attach themselves to people and eventually take over their bodies. Chad claimed that once this happened, the real person's spirit would leave their body and enter some type of spiritual limbo. According to Chad, these people were then no longer normal people, but they were actually now zombies. And the only way for that person's real spirit to be freed was to kill the zombie. Now, if you recall, earlier I shared a clip where Melanie Gibb said they had to pray for the dark spirits or people who were taken over by zombies. And it seems like that is what Chad had them do at first. But over time, the solution of getting rid of these zombies somehow turned from praying for them into killing them. And I believe he only shared the killing solution with Lori and her brother Alex. The others were left to just pray for the people who were possessed by dark spirits. Chad had told them that there were tens of thousands of zombies and that it was their purpose and mission on this earth to eliminate all of the zombies. Lori and her brother Alex had some interesting text messages about this too. So Lori and her 2 kids, JJ and Tylee, now moved to Rexburg, Idaho in early September 2019. They were hardly communicating with family members at all. But to make things more interesting, it turns out that Lori's brother, Alex Cox, her niece, Melani Boudreaux, and Zulema Pastenes ended up moving to Rexburg with her. Not only that, but they all moved into the same apartment complex. And remember, this was a secret. Nobody knew that they all had moved there. So nobody knew where they were, but more importantly, nobody knew where the kids were. The only person who knew that they had moved to Rexburg was Lori's bestie, Melanie Gibb. She was the only person in the group that didn't move with them. Melanie Gibb knew that Lori was moving to Rexburg to be with Chad because Lori shared that information with her. But there was only one problem with this. Chad Daybell was married. He lived with his wife Tammy and their 5 children. But this is where it gets even more crazy because Chad had told many people, including Lori, that he had had a vision and that he saw that Tammy was going to die. He said that in this vision of his, he saw that Tammy had a car accident and he could see her spirit leave her body.
She believed that Tammy was going to pass away, though, before she got up there. And that didn't happen. She didn't pass away before she got up there. And so I thought, I said, aren't you uncomfortable? Maybe she'll see you guys together. And so I thought it was different, that she was going to be up there when Tammy was still alive.
And she told you, well, Tammy will die before I move up there.
Right.
How was she going to die?
I heard a few times maybe through a car accident or something like that.
So they thought Tammy would be in a car crash.
Yeah.
Would pass away, then Lori would move up there, and then she could marry Chad?
Mm-hmm.
On the 8th of September 2019, Lori and her brother Alex took Tylee and JJ to Yellowstone National Park. Sadly, this was the last time that anybody saw Tylee. Now, even though Melanie Gibb did not move to Rexburg with the rest of the group, she still made a plan to visit. At the time, she was in a relationship with a man named David Warwick, and he was also a devout Mormon. She is now actually married to David. David went with Melanie to visit Lori and the whole group, and there they also worked on a podcast together. But while they were there, Melanie noticed that Tylee was not around.
Did you stay with Lori at that time when you went up to visit her?
Mm-hmm.
And were the kids there?
JJ was.
But Tylee was not.
Tylee was not.
Where was she?
I was told she was at BYU.
BYU in Provo?
Idaho.
BYU in Idaho. Would that have been a normal answer? Like a normal, okay, that makes sense type thing?
Well, I knew that Tylee had had her GED that she got when she was 16 or 17. I'm not sure exactly the age. And so it could have been plausible, but it didn't feel like it. There was definitely question marks. It was question marks for me. It didn't feel real. It didn't feel like the truth.
And just in case you don't know, BYU stands for Brigham Young University. It's a private university that is owned by the LDS Church.
So JJ's home with Alex, but there's no sign of Tylee.
Correct.
And how long did you stay with Lori that? Was it for a week?
So Thursday to a Monday morning.
I'm assuming Tylee never called her. She never called Tylee.
She didn't even talk about her.
Never spoke about Tylee.
On the 22nd of September 2019, while Melanie Gibb and David Warwick were visiting Lori, Alex Cox came in and he fetched 7-year-old JJ. While he was out with him, Lori took the time to explain to Melanie and David how JJ was getting in the way.
I didn't think she would do that because that's her boy, you know. We had actually a talking about this. She goes, well, I need to, you know, it's time for JJ to, I don't know how she worded it, but it was something to the effect, it's time for, he's in the way of our mission, so we need to send him to Kay's house. That was kind of like the idea, is what can we do? And so we talked about Kay, and we talked about some of her family members that could actually take him on. And so we talked about, you know, what that conversation would be like with Kay, and she wasn't sure if Kay would really receive him. And so we talked about just different ideas about, you know, him going there. And so that was the plan that I knew of, is he's going to Kay's house. She told me that. I know that from what I saw in one of the video clippings, that she also told a neighbor that as well. And so that's what I believe was going to happen to him. So I left thinking that that's where he was going, his case, for sure. I didn't doubt that.
So as her friend, you're saying, okay, he's a zombie. He's in the way of your mission. She said that. So you guys came up with a plan of, why don't we let Kay take care of him, or someone in Kay's family?
Yeah.
Had you dealt with Kay before?
I met her briefly, but I didn't interact with her.
Okay.
It was like, hi, how are you? I'm Melanie, and that was about it.
So even though Lori had an issue with Kay, she was willing, that day at least, to say, yeah, we'll send JJ to Kay.
Correct.
A little while later, Alex returned with JJ seemingly sleeping in his arms with his head on his shoulder. This was the last sighting of JJ. I know I keep saying it, but things are about to get even crazier, and I'm probably going to say that a few more times in this video. Now, as I mentioned before, Lori's niece, Melani Boudreaux, was married to a man named Brandon Boudreaux. But as soon as Melanie started getting close to her aunt Lori, her marriage with Brandon started falling apart and she ended up divorcing him. Brandon was not into any of Chad and Lori's beliefs, and that made them view Brandon as their enemy.
So anyone that would disagree with her or cause her any sort of problem would become a zombie?
Pretty much. Or either considered to be dark. They're a little bit different, but that's another discussion.
Yeah.
On the 2nd of October 2019, Brandon Boudreaux arrived at his home. As he pulled into his driveway, he heard a shot. Then he realized that his Tesla's window had been shot out. Luckily, Brandon was not harmed, but he phoned 911 immediately.
Hi there! So what's going on?
Someone just shot my window out.
Okay, give me a little bit more than that.
Yeah, so I was just pulling in.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed a green Jeep Wrangler.
Okay.
It's like a pukey green color. Had a Texas plate. I just moved in like a week ago, so I thought maybe it was just my neighbor.
Okay.
So as I was kind of pulling in, they lifted their like back window.
Okay.
I saw a muzzle. They shot.
Are we talking a real gun, a BB gun?
It's got to be like a BB gun or an airsoft.
Okay, so they shot, then what happened?
It hit my window, and instead of turning in, it scared me really bad.
Okay.
I thought, I'm getting shot at, so I drove straight. So
Okay.
I drove straight really fast.
Okay. Do you have any enemies? Anybody that you...
I just went through a divorce. There was some crazy stuff that happened with her aunt killed her husband, but I would hope that has nothing to do with this. Other than the only people that I could even think of would be that group. But,
the family?
Yeah.
Your ex-wife's?
Yeah.
All right.
So Brandon identified the Jeep Wrangler and he recognized it as being the same Jeep Wrangler that Charles Vallow used to drive. You know, Charles Vallow, Lori's husband, who was shot and killed by her brother Alex Cox. Brandon actually went on to tell the police that even though he didn't get a good look at the shooter, he believed it was Alex Cox. It turned out it was Charles' Jeep, but Charles had been dead for over 3 months at this point. Brandon shared a lot of what he knew about Lori and Chad and their group with the police, but at that point, his soon-to-be ex-wife Melanie was MIA. He had no idea where she or Lori's group were. Police managed to track down the Jeep Wrangler. It was in Rexburg, Idaho. By this time, they knew that Brandon thought Alex Cox had shot at him. They looked into Alex and realized he had shot Lori's ex-husband Charles Vallow, supposedly in self-defense. This is when the police became suspicious of the group. On the 9th of October 2019, Tammy Daybell, Chad's wife, arrived at their home in Salem, Idaho. As she got out of her car, she saw a man dressed all in black standing there with a firearm. Fearing for her life, Tammy called out for her husband to come and help. Chad came running out, but the unknown man left the property.
Hi, I need to report something. Okay, go ahead. What's the address? Okay, at 202 North, 1900 East. The corner with the blinking yellow light on Salem Highway. Is it a suspicious person? Yes. Okay, what was he wearing? He was all dressed in black and he had a ski mask on. And he said the blinking light now is where you saw him? No, he's gone now, because I pulled up into our driveway and I didn't step out of the back seat of my car, and suddenly he was there, and he had a paintball gun, and he was and like he was going to shoot at me, and I kept asking him what he was doing because I could tell it was a paintball thing, and then he just kept doing it, so I yelled for my husband, and then he took off running around the back of my house. Okay, give me just 1 minute, stay on the line with me.
After this event, interesting text messages were shared between Chad and Lori. On the 19th of October 2019, only 10 days after Tammy was attacked in her driveway, she suddenly passed away. Chad found her, and he and one of his kids phoned 911.
911, where's your emergency?
We're at 202 North, 1900 East.
What's going on?
We just found my mom. She's on the ground frozen, or she's stiff, and I don't know.
Are you in Madison County or Fremont County?
Hello, I'm Chad, the husband. She's clearly dead. We don't know.
Sorry. Okay. Okay. Are you in Rexburg or? Because your address shows the Rexburg address, but you're in Fremont County?
It's a mile past.
Okay.
Anyway. Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh. Daybell. Oh, man.
Okay, Chad, I'm going to get somebody out to you right now, okay?
You know the corner where the blinking yellow light is with the red house?
Yes, sir. Red house on the corner.
Yes.
Blinking yellow light.
Right.
Okay. We'll get somebody out to you, okay? I'm so sorry.
Okay.
If you need anything else, you call me back, okay?
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Chad told the police that Tammy had a horrible cough the night before and that he just found her dead the following morning. No autopsy was done, and they stated that she had died from natural causes. This came as a massive shock to all who knew Tammy. Her family members never knew anything about her being sick. In fact, they were all under the impression that she was very healthy. They were close with her. Chad was the only one who was aware of this supposed cough. Chad went on to arrange Tammy's funeral very quickly and asked for her to be buried in Springville, Utah, which everybody found very strange. Soon after Tammy's death, Chad announced to everyone that he would be moving out of the Salem home because he said he just couldn't live in the house where his wife had passed away. He claimed that he had a friend that he could go and live with. He didn't say who this friend was, but I think you probably guessed it. It was Lori Vallow. Chad then also went and collected $430,000 from Tammy's life insurance. Lori and Chad flew to Hawaii, and unbeknownst to anyone except their little group, of course, these two went and got married on the beach on the 5th of November 2019. Let me remind you, this is only 2 weeks after Chad's wife Tammy passed away. They later returned back to Rexburg, Idaho. The last time Kay had contact with her grandson, JJ, was on the 10th of August 2019. Since then, she was desperately trying to get hold of him or Lori. She and Larry wanted to speak to their grandson. They wanted to do a video call and just wanted to visit him. But Lori was avoiding their calls and their messages. Kay and Larry knew that Lori wasn't very happy about the whole situation that happened with Charles Vallow's life insurance, and they thought she was avoiding them because she was still upset about that. But as time went on, they started becoming more and more concerned about JJ. Kay then tried to do a bit of her own investigating, and she managed to get into her deceased brother Charles Vallow's email account. There, she discovered his Amazon account had been used to order 2 malachite rings. The only issue was that this had been ordered on the 7th of October 2019. Charles died in July. But she checked the address of where these rings were delivered, and that's when she found a Rexburg address. On the 25th of November 2019, Kay and Larry Woodcock phoned the police and asked them to do a welfare check on JJ. Now at this time, police were already a little bit suspicious of Lori and Alex. They were already looking into it if Alex was the one who shot at Melanie's ex-husband, Brandon Boudreaux, and they connected some dots and became suspicious of what happened between Alex and the late Charles Vallow. Now on top of that, they received a call from Kay Woodcock saying that she had not heard from her grandson JJ in months. Kay also told the police about the Amazon account and the rings that were ordered on it, and she gave them the address that the rings were shipped to. The very next day, on the 26th of November 2019, the Rexburg police went to the address that Kay gave them to do a welfare check on JJ. They knocked, and Alex Cox answered the door. Soon another man appeared behind him. It was none other than Chad Daybell. The police informed the two men that they were there to do a welfare check on JJ. Alex Cox quickly said that JJ was with Kay, his grandmother, in Louisiana. But police informed Alex that that was impossible, as it was Kay who had requested the welfare check. They asked for Lori's number, and Alex and Chad actually said that they didn't have her number. Chad went as far as to tell the police that he didn't really know Lori that well. Meanwhile, he's already married to her.
You know, I knew what Alex was suspected of doing down in Arizona. And to be quite honest, it was a weird feeling talking with Alex, and I remember thinking and looking at him, and he was just staring. He had that 1,000-yard stare that made me feel uncomfortable. And when I was talking to him, he would keep taking a couple steps toward me. And, you know, I'm like, okay, well, just take a couple steps back, and I'd take a couple steps back. But it was a weird feeling talking with Alex, knowing what he had done in Arizona at that time. But initially, yeah, I knew they were lying to me.
Because you knew that Chad had married Lori.
Right.
And that Alex, and didn't they both say they didn't have her cell phone number?
Yes.
Alex eventually tells police that JJ's mom, Lori, is in apartment 107, and the police head over there.
Hi, you Lori. Lori, I'm Lieutenant Ball of the police department. How are you? You got a minute? You alone, or you got help?
My brother's here.
Okay. Let's pick up these jobs.
Sweet Jim.
So, we're here.
Oh, this is a big mess. I just talked to the guy on the phone.
And what did he ask you?
He was just saying that he wanted to do a well check on JJ.
So, JJ would be where?
He's in Arizona.
Who's he with in Arizona?
He's with one of my friends in Arizona.
Oh. Oh, you got a notepad?
No? Oh, you want?
No. Come here. Mike, he comes in.
Oh.
So,
Sorry.
who's the friend he's with?
My friend Melanie. Her son has autism. Her name's Melanie Gibb. I gave him all the information on the phone.
Okay, so he can call him?
Yeah.
So as you heard, Lori told police that JJ was with Melanie Gibb. At this point in time, Melanie Gibb was in Utah, and as the police left Lori's place, Chad phoned Melanie, and he told her that the police were going to contact her, but that she should not pick up her phone.
And I get a call from Chad 2 days before Thanksgiving. I still feel emotional about it. I said, Melanie, it's Chad. When the police call, don't pick up the phone. And my heart just dropped. I was so confused. I'm like, what? He says, yeah, the police are over at Lori's house checking on JJ. And I'm like, JJ's not with Kay? No. My heart dropped deeper. And I just knew something was wrong, but I didn't know. I didn't understand. Like, you know, when you believe your friends are good people, you couldn't believe that they could do something like that.
What was Chad's demeanor like on the phone? Was he stoic? What was he like?
He was very nervous.
He was nervous?
He was very scared. He did not sound himself. Very unsure, very quivery almost. Yeah, it was a hard moment.
So that call comes completely out of the blue?
Out of the blue. Wasn't expecting that at all.
He says, don't pick up the phone when the police call. Mm-hmm. He's scared. He's nervous. Mm-hmm. He says they're going to call you because they're at Lori's house.
And she's going to tell them that JJ's with you.
She's going to tell the cops that JJ's with you in Arizona.
No, I was in Utah at the time.
You were in Utah?
Yeah.
So Melanie actually listened to Chad, and she didn't answer when the police phoned her. And then the police went back to Lori's place and told her that they couldn't get a hold of Melanie and they had to do a welfare check on JJ. Lori then told police that she knew that Melanie was going to take JJ to see Frozen 2 at the movies, and that's probably why she didn't answer her phone. Once the police left this time, Lori quickly made contact with Melanie.
How soon after did Lori then call?
I can't recall, but it was soon after.
Soon after. And what does she say?
She sounded like everything was wonderful and great. She had an upbeat voice, and I was like, wow, she's positive. And that it gave me a little hope that, hey, maybe, it's not what I'm thinking the worst.
What did she say?
She said, hey, everything's fine. Everything's okay. And I can't quote exactly all the things I said. So she led me to believe that everything was fine and that, that JJ was, I'm trying to remember how she worded it, that she was protecting JJ, something to the fact that they were not just Kay, but it felt like many people were after him. And so she was trying to protect him. That's what she told me.
Melanie was troubled by all of this, to say the least, but when police phoned again, she actually answered. This time, she told them that JJ had been with her, but that she had returned him to Lori. This, of course, was a lie. Melanie had not seen JJ at all. The next day, the police made their way back to the apartment complex where Lori lived, but when they got there to serve their search warrant, Lori and Chad were nowhere to be found. In fact, they had moved out. Melanie Gibb was still troubled at this time, and then she decided to phone Lori and Chad and to record the conversation for police.
Hello, sweet Melanie.
Hi, Chad. Hey, Lori.
Hey, let me put on speaker.
Oh, okay.
All right.
We're enough with the phone. How are you guys?
We're okay. How are you doing, babe?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks. I was wondering, where are you guys?
We're just hanging out.
Hanging out? Are you in Idaho?
We're near Idaho.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to ask you a question, if you don't mind, Lori.
Yeah, of course, honey.
I want to know, you remember we talked about JJ going to Kay's house, and you told me they went there, and now he's not there? I was wondering what happened.
Well, I had to move him somewhere else because of her actions. So,
Was she doing something? Like, was she trying to come get him or something? Or, like, trying to kidnap him?
well, she said that lots of times before, but
Are you afraid of anything? Like, are you afraid to tell me that you're just afraid that that I could be in danger? Like, like I don't, like if I knew, like how could that hurt me? I don't understand how that could hurt me if I knew where he was.
well, I'm just not telling anybody so that nobody has to say where he is or get questioned to where he is, so I can keep him as safe as possible.
Yeah. Okay, I hope that he's okay. I hope you guys are okay. I did have a question that I asked Al at one point, your brother, if I wanted to know, like where he was, and he said I did not want to know, and that he could not be found. So what does that mean?
I don't know why he would say that, but it's the same story. Like I don't even want Al to know. I don't want anybody to know, so that nobody has to be worried about it. I mean, nobody has to be.
Yeah. Somebody else took it away, but that's not how God works. He doesn't work in darkness.
I agree with you 100%, and that's what the Lord is doing for me. Exactly what He's doing for me.
You haven't shown me anything.
I don't know why you're being controversial to me, or if you're recording this conversation for the police or whatever. I don't know what your intention is on this phone call. But I love you with all my heart, and I have forever, and I will always love you.
I appreciate those words, but if you really loved me, you wouldn't have told the police that I had JJ with me. That's not what a friend does. I mean, that just makes me look weird, and it's not safe for me. That doesn't look good. I mean, you had to think of my welfare if you love me.
I do, and I did exactly what I felt the Lord was instructing me to do. And I appreciate you, and I love you. And I've never do anything to harm you. And you can have all of this confirmed to you by the Lord.
I have. And my conscience is clear. I feel very understanding what's really going on, Lori. And I believe that you have been very deceived by Satan. I believe that he has tricked you. And I don't believe that what you're doing is correct. I just don't. I mean, Tammy dies, and then your husband died, and then he's missing. It just doesn't sound like God's plan to me. It gives me a gut feeling, like in my gut, it feels weird. It doesn't feel right. I don't have peace about it. I never have felt 100% peace about it. I always felt like a little weird in my stomach about all these things.
You know me, Mel. You know me. This does not sound like you. This sounds like you've been influenced by somebody dark who wants you to believe dark things and have fear of the celestial world.
I don't have fear. You obviously do. No, I have a peace of conscience and I can see clearly.
I just want to testify that I know Tammy and the conspiracy theories. My sister-in-law's right behind it all, and I hope that you're not being influenced by that dark team.
I don't know who she is. I'm sorry, you said your sister-in-law? I don't even know her.
Oh, I know, but she's coming up with the same type of theories. And it's just not true. My own children were there. They testified that Tammy had been getting weaker and sick, and I begged her to go to the doctor. Her heart was failing her. She was physically falling apart, but she hates doctors, and she just passed away. That's how it happened. My son Garth was right there with me the whole time. My kids were at the house within 20 minutes of her passing. There were 2 coroners. They checked her out right there on the bed. All these conspiracy theories just make me sick to my stomach. Just absolutely sick. I know I've been told for years that Tammy would pass away at a young age. And I had no idea that Lori would even be a part of my life. I just knew that my life had 2 segments. And that I know Tammy's on a special mission and she's with my kids. She's visited them. There's so much, Melanie, that you just have to have faith. And this is not some sort of master plan. There's no way Lori and I could ever come up with this. It's just...
You can understand my concern, correct?
I can from an outside perspective, but
From someone who knows as much as you know, no, not really. But we can feel Dave's influence on you. I can feel that for sure.
He's a very good man, and he has a very strong foundation, that I know.
I know, but he seems to be the one that's putting the doubts in your mind.
No, you know what? I have come to understand that my gut feeling, I was not listening to it. And I always felt uncomfortable with many things.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry that I included you in those teachings then for your own sake, because I wish that you didn't have as much knowledge as you have, because you will be accountable for the knowledge that you do have, Mel.
So are you.
So I can tell that you're just adversarial, Mel. I love you. I'm sorry that you feel this way.
Because I actually do care. I'm sharing what I feel for you because I know your salvation's in trouble for what you've done.
If my salvation is not in trouble at all, and I think you should check that with the Lord again. Never had any idea that you would be the person of all people to turn to me. I cannot believe
I am asking questions, and I am concerned for you. That is what somebody does when they care.
You don't sound like you're concerned. You sound like you're accusatory. You do not sound concerned. You sound pissed off.
I'm not. I am troubled. Maybe that's the better word. Troubled. Because these things, like you being with Chad before he's even divorced, is unusual behavior for a person that's seen Jesus Christ.
I was never with him, and he was never divorced.
Honey, I've seen you guys together. So I haven't ever seen you I've never seen you with Chad kiss him and walk around the track at BYU with him. I never saw that. You
say you're the one that's just feeling guilty about being with someone before they were divorced.
Oh, honey. I think that's not what we're talking about here.
Well, it's not what we're talking about here. That's what I'm saying. You are going off the deep end.
Well, I'm just saying this is not a behavior of someone that sees Jesus Christ. It's not the behavior.
Really? Have you ever seen Jesus Christ? So do you know what the future behavior would be if you had seen Jesus Christ?
I know that when I pray.
Lord asks me to do every day, and he does protect me, and he is protecting me, and he will protect me against this accusation as well. And we will both stand there with him. And you tell me if I was lying or not. But we're both standing there with Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Can someone say weird? I mean, it's just crazy. But on the 27th of November 2019, police went over to Lori's oldest son's home, Colby. They informed him and his wife, Kelsey, that Tylee and JJ were missing. Colby immediately phoned his mom to find out what the hell was going on. But when he phoned, Lori just told him not to worry and that everything was fine. Colby also tried to reach out to Tylee, but he realized that his messages were bouncing back. The next day, he tried to reach out to Lori again, but she had turned her phone off. Later, he received an email from her saying that she knows it's confusing, but she loved him and that he should not worry, that they were all safe. And I just have to add this little bit of my opinion in here right now. My heart really breaks for Colby. He went through so much, and I just have so much respect for him, for the way that he carried himself throughout this entire case. So when police realized that the strange couple, Lori and Chad, had just upped and left, they became even more suspicious and started to do more investigating. They started connecting the dots. It all started with Charles Vallow. Lori's brother killed him. Then Lori moves. Lori's niece's ex is shot at. Chad's wife, Tammy Daybell, is shot at. Tammy dies, and now JJ was missing, and police quickly realized that Tylee Ryan was also nowhere to be found. This was all too weird. Lori had told Melanie Gibb and the police that Tylee was at BYU, but when they looked into it, they found out that she was never enrolled there. So where was Tylee and where was JJ? On the 30th of November 2019, Alex Cox and Zulema Pastenes got married. Alex actually took Zulema's last name, and only members of their group were aware of the nuptials. Just 2 days later, Lori's niece, Melani Boudreaux, got remarried. She married a man named Ian Pulowski, who she had only met 10 days earlier. Alex acted as their witness. Why on earth would these people get married so suddenly, you ask? Well, it turns out that their leader, Chad Daybell, had the belief that certain people had to marry on earth in order to be sealed for eternity in the afterlife. He wanted them to do this before the world came to an end, as they all believed it would on the 22nd of July 2020. Chad made them believe that they would not be able to fulfill their mission on earth if they were unmarried, and they believed it. Now that Chad and Lori had disappeared, police were working very hard behind the scenes to find JJ and Tylee. Due to everything they had heard about the couple, they were hoping the kids were hidden in some Doomsday bunker or something, but they could not find the kids anywhere. Police contacted the FBI, and together they would uncover the most disturbing information about this case. They started piecing everything together slowly, and then it all started to come together. Through their investigation, police found that Lori had rented a 10x10 storage unit from Self Storage Plus in Rexburg on the 1st of October 2019. Surveillance footage at the facility shows Lori and a man visiting the unit 9 times in October and once in November. Often, the man, who appears to be Alex, comes alone. Another visit shows Alex and a man who appears to be Chad Daybell. During one visit, Chad and Lori visit the storage facility together. When police checked the storage unit, they found some of Tylee and JJ's belongings in there. They discovered that Lori enrolled JJ at Kennedy Elementary School in Rexburg on the 3rd of September 2019. Less than 3 weeks later, though, JJ attended class for the last time, and Lori told the school she was going to homeschool him. Police also had another look at the death of Charles Vallow and were able to determine that Alex only phoned 911 over 43 minutes after he had spoken to Lori, and he only spoke to Lori after he had shot Charles. After investigating further and doing an autopsy on Charles, they determined that the second shot that was fired at Charles was while he was laying on the ground. On the 6th of December 2019, while Chad and Lori's whereabouts were still unknown, Melanie Gibb contacted the Rexburg police station and she told them everything. She told them Lori and Chad asked her to lie about where JJ was, and she told them all about Chad and Lori's crazy beliefs. Another chilling discovery investigators made was that on the 8th of September of 2019, Chad signed an application with Tammy to increase her life insurance to the maximum amount allowed on the policy. a month later, Tammy was dead. They also looked into how Lori bought her and Chad's wedding rings on Amazon through her dead husband's account and realized that Lori had ordered the rings on the 7th of October. Chad's wife, Tammy, died 12 days later on the 19th of October. So she bought the rings before Tammy was even dead. This information allowed police to exhume the body of Tammy Daybell. On the 11th of December 2019, Tammy Daybell's body was exhumed. An autopsy was performed and the cause of death was ruled as asphyxia. She was murdered. On the 12th of December 2019, a day after Tammy's body was exhumed, Lori's brother, Alex Cox, died. His wife, Zulema's son, phoned 911.
911, where is your emergency?
Hi, I need an ambulance to... Yes.
Why do you need an ambulance?
I have a older male, a middle-aged male.
He is breathing?
Yes, he's breathing, but very, very highly breathing.
Okay, let me transfer you to the medics. Do not hang up.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, what is your emergency?
I have a older male here named Alex. He just passed out here on my bathroom.
Okay, is he awake right now?
I think he's passed out.
Okay, you think he's unconscious?
Yes.
Okay. Is he breathing normally, like you can see his chest rising and falling? Hello?
I hope so.
I have the paramedics on the way, but I need you to try to help me with some information while they're driving there to help him. Okay?
Okay.
How old is he?
He seems to be in his 40s.
Okay. Do you know him?
No, it's my mother's boyfriend.
Did you catch that? Zulema's own son actually said to the 911 operator that this was her mom's boyfriend. He didn't even know that his mom was married to Alex. That's how secretive this group was. When they did an autopsy on Alex, they determined he died from natural causes. They said he had blood clots wedged into the arteries of his lungs. That shocked me, and I know they are still claiming he died from natural causes to this day. And is it possible? Yes, sure. But is it likely after everything that has taken place? In my opinion, no. And if I were them, I would do another autopsy and get a second opinion. Colby's grandparents phoned him and informed him that his uncle Alex had died. At the same time, he found out that Alex had also moved to Rexburg, Idaho. And he found out that Alex had married Zulema. He had no idea about any of this. And that very same evening, he read an article about his mom being on the run with Chad Daybell, and they referred to Chad as her husband. Sadly, this is how Colby, Lori's oldest son, found out that she had married Chad Daybell. Lori's entire family was shocked. On the 20th of December 2019, Rexburg Police Department announced that Tylee and JJ were missing. Police revealed that their disappearance was possibly linked to the suspicious death of Tammy Daybell. The following day, police also revealed that Chad and Lori were persons of interest. And the media sort of had to play catch up with the story, but it spread like wildfire. This case was everywhere, and people just couldn't believe all the crazy information that was uncovered and revealed as time went on. And the crazy part was that Chad and Lori were still nowhere to be found. On the 30th of December, the Rexburg Police Department issued a news release saying they have information indicating Lori knows either the location of the children or what has happened to them. They called the parents' lack of cooperation astonishing. Tylee was last seen on the 8th of September 2019, and JJ was last seen on the 22nd of September 2019. That's crazy. Larry and Kay Woodcock were also desperate to find the kids.
Open your mouth and tell us the truth. Where are they?
Yeah, just tell us where the kids are.
But sadly, Lori would not tell anyone where the kids were. On the 3rd of January of 2020, Rexburg investigators and the FBI served a search warrant on Chad's home in Salem. They recovered 43 items, including computers, cell phones, journals, documents, and medications. These items were sent to an FBI lab in Salt Lake City for further analysis. This is where more information was uncovered. Strange religious documents, text messages, Chad's personal thoughts he had written down. There was a lot of incriminating evidence. Police were determined to find something that would allow them to arrest Lori and Chad as soon as they could find them. On the 7th of January, Kay and Larry Woodcock drove from Louisiana to Rexburg and announced a $20,000 reward for information that would help locate Tylee and JJ. There had still been no word from Lori or Chad, and there was still no sign of Tylee and JJ. Members from Chad's family started coming forward and begging him to cooperate with police. Lori's family members were doing the same. Her son Colby put out videos online begging his mom to tell him where his siblings were. He even begged her just to show them over FaceTime if she felt they were in danger. But they heard nothing from the couple. However, Lori's family were still convinced that the Lori they knew would never harm her own children. They were so convinced of this that Lori's mom, Alex Cox, and her sister Summer actually agreed to do an interview. And in this interview, they were adamant that Lori was a loving person and that she would always protect her children.
After Charles had died, Lori had been continuously threatened, and she wanted to go somewhere safe. She didn't want to tell any of us where she was going because she was being followed and threatened.
Threatened by who?
By people who loved Charles and want revenge for his death.
Something's not adding up here.
Mm-hmm.
Where are they? Where is JJ and Tylee?
It's a great question. We would love to know the answer to that. We don't know, but we know, we are very confident that Lori would never harm her children.
On the 25th of January 2020, investigators were able to locate Lori and Chad in Kauai, Hawaii by tracking their phones. The Kauai Police Department served Lori with a notice that stated she had to produce JJ and Tylee to the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare or the Rexburg Police Department within 5 days.
Hi. How's it going? Are you Chad and Lori? This is Vallows, sir.
Do you have any questions regarding that?
So it is 14:39 hours on January 25th.
Any questions?
You have any questions for that? No? Okay.
All right, have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
The next day, they were also served with 2 search warrants.
I'm Nate Eaton with EastIdahoNews.com in Kauai, where Chad and Lori Daybell were served with 2 search warrants just hours ago. Law enforcement officers from eastern Idaho, along with federal agents and the Kauai Police Department, pulled Lori and Chad over. They were driving a black SUV. They pulled into this resort where I am standing. They put Chad into one vehicle, Lori into another. That's when their vehicle was seized and they had no way to get home. We had a chance to ask them so many questions that need answers. Lori, Nate Eaton with East Idaho News. Can you tell me where your kids are? Where are your kids? No comment? They've been missing for 4 months. You have nothing to say? You're over here in Hawaii? Where are your children? Yeah, why don't you just give us a comment? Just tell us where they are. Chad, where are Lori's kids? What happened to Tammy, Chad? Can you tell us what happened to Tammy? Why have you guys been in Hawaii for so long? Listen, just tell people what's happening. There's people around the country praying for your children, praying for you guys. Why don't you give us answers?
That's great.
That's great. That's great that they're praying for you, praying for your kids. What? You have nothing to say? Did you do something to your children? Are your children still alive? That's a simple question. I've got 3 kids of my own. I can tell you every minute where my kids are at. Where are your children?
That just blows my mind completely. Her 2 children are missing, and the 2 of them are just walking there like they do not have a care in the world. How is this possible? This is insane. I don't have words. Law enforcement seized the couple's rental car and searched their rental townhome in Hawaii. They still refuse to say where the children were. On the 30th of January 2020, Lori missed her deadline and failed to produce JJ and Tylee to law enforcement. JJ's grandmother, Kay Woodcock, expressed her disappointment in a news conference that day.
Lori hasn't come to Rexburg. The kids haven't been delivered. It's 5 o'clock. This is her deadline for her court order to produce them. So at this point, it seems the next step is in the judge's hands, I do believe, to see how they're going to proceed with any type of consequence for not following a judge's order.
And indeed, there were consequences. On the 20th of February 2020, police arrested Lori in Kauai, Hawaii on a $5 million out of Madison County. She was charged with 2 felony counts of desertion and non-support of dependent children. She was also charged with arrests and seizures, resisting or obstructing officers, criminal solicitation to commit a crime, and contempt of court. She stayed behind bars in Hawaii until the 5th of March 2020, and then she was extradited to Rexburg.
Welcome back, Lori. Where are your kids? Just tell us where your kids are. Where are your kids? Anything you want to say, Lori? Anything you want to say? How does it feel to be back in Idaho? What do you want to say to your kids? What do you want to say to Colby?
So finally, Lori was behind bars, but Chad was still free. But don't worry, not for long. Throughout the investigation, police had heard from various sources that Lori called Alex her hitman. They started looking into his messages and phone records, and they also compared them with Chad Daybell's. They noticed that on the 9th of September of 2019, just a day after the last sighting of Tylee, Chad sent a message to his wife Tammy, who was still alive at the time. Also, on the 9th of September, they noticed Alex's phone records placed him on Chad's property around the same time Chad sent that text message to Tammy. So around 7 a.m. on the 9th of June, the FBI and the Rexburg Police Department served a search warrant at Chad's home. This time, they don't just search inside of the home, but they go digging in the pet cemetery. In the meantime, Chad received an interesting call from his wife Lori from prison.
An idea what they were going to find. Let's take a listen to that phone call.
Hi, Dad.
Hello.
Are you okay? The house right now?
Yeah. So, my friends will be talking to you.
they in the house?
No, they're on property.
Are they seizing stuff again?
They're searching. There's a search warrant, and so we're going to get on this with the kids.
Okay.
Yeah, so you tried to set up a call, logical.
Yeah.
So we'll see what transpires.
Okay. What do you do? Pray.
Wow.
What do you want me to
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay. What can I do for you?
I'm doing pretty calm. I would call Marco, maybe. Just talk with him.
Have you talked to him already?
I'll just call him, yes.
So he knows what they're doing?
Yeah. It's okay. Call from somebody else I need to talk to. I love you so much.
Okay, I love you. Should I try to call you later?
I don't know. I don't know. You can try, yeah. I'll reach if I can.
Okay.
I love you, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, baby. I love you.
Okay. Love you. Good night.
Within hours, investigators discovered human remains, but then they noticed Chad got in his truck and just took off. They quickly went after him and arrested him.
Follow breaking news in Idaho surrounding the disappearance of Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow. Chad Daybell's been booked into jail as police investigate human remains found in his backyard.
This all started from a search warrant that police served earlier today with the help of the FBI and the Fremont County Sheriff's Office. News specialist Mike Anderson is there. Mike, do you know what charges Chad could face yet?
Yeah, we got a bit about, I'll tell you about that in a second, but, you know, they just opened up the road, so I want to show you this, guys. We're here at in front of the Daybell home where investigators have spent the whole day here along with FBI and sheriff's deputies. And as we come over here to the side, swing around, we'll see the backyard where investigators spent a good part of the day digging, making that gruesome discovery. As you know, those remains will still have to be identified, but what it suggests for this case certainly disheartening here. Chad Daybell is behind bars tonight there, as you mentioned, and held on suspicion of felony destruction or concealment.
Unfortunately, it was confirmed that the human remains belonged to 7-year-old JJ Vallow and 16-year-old Tylee Ryan. Eventually, the kids' causes of death were revealed, and I'm going to tell you about that now, but just a warning here, it is extremely upsetting. Authorities determined that 7-year-old JJ died of asphyxia with a plastic bag over his head. His mouth and ankles were reportedly bound with duct tape, and bruising was found on his arms and neck that occurred before he died. They also found GHB in his system. Sadly, Tylee had been dismembered, and her body parts were badly burned. The coroner said her manner of death was homicide, but they could not determine the cause of death, as her remains were severely decomposed and burned. Now, Lori and Chad also had murder charges against them, and they pleaded not guilty. They were also eventually charged with conspiracy to commit murder for the death of Charles Vallow and the death of Tammy Daybell. They were also charged for trying to shoot Brandon Boudreaux Lori's niece's ex-husband. On the 5th of August of 2021, prosecutors announced that they would seek the death penalty against Chad. They said, quote, "The nature and magnitude of these crimes warrant the possibility of the highest possible punishment." When the news about the children broke, everyone was devastated. Tylee and JJ's family were in disbelief and they were inconsolable. Summer, Lori's sister, confronted her over a phone call.
Is there another explanation? I'm willing to hear it. I don't want to think it. Absolutely, but I can't talk about it. You went off to Hawaii and were dancing on the beach while your kids are in the ground? You had to have known when they were there. I just can't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand. I want to believe the best in you. I really do. I love you with all my heart. It kills me. But they were just little kids. I don't understand. You know me, Summer. That's what I thought. You still do. Lori, if you let that happen to them and didn't tell us and lifted me in the ground like a piece of trash, then I don't know you because you would have never done anything like that. That's correct. And if you knew and didn't tell us, that's not okay either. We love them. We would have taken them. We would have taken care of them. You could have gone on and done anything you wanted. That's what you think? I don't know what to think. None of us do. You haven't told us anything. We believed you. We stood up for you. I cannot. I would love to. You cut me and Mom off for 4 months and told everyone not to trust us because we'd tell Adam. And now we find this out and you expect me to just keep going on faith when there's been zero explanation and you expect me to just keep believing without ever having a question? I don't say that. That is what you're saying. Either explain it or don't expect me to not be upset and doubt you when the kids are on Chad's property. I'm not okay. That's never my intention. Well, you don't think I'm in pain? No, I don't. I think you were dancing on the beach having a great time. Getting married. And you took pictures to prove your kids don't deserve a burial, but you need to get wedding pictures? You don't think that's upsetting?
Colby also confronted his mom.
You didn't do anything, right? Mom, I've prayed for you in my worst moments. I prayed for my siblings who swore to me were okay. I thought I could trust you. I thought that you were a completely different person. I don't know a murderous mother.
You can make judgments when you weren't there and you don't know what happened.
What happened?
Everyone's making their own judgments.
Mom, you've been shoving BS on my throat for a very long time. I'm going to talk to you.
It could be
in
bad.
a sweet, hey, listen to me. I'm not mad. Listen to me. Fine, listen to me. I sat there and prayed. I can't tell you the amount of pain that I have felt from your decisions in Jesus Christ's name. To know that they're gone and you knew, and my phone is being texted by my little sister who's not even alive, my little brother who's the sweetest little kid ever. For what purpose? Can you tell me if this is God's will for my whole family, including my stepfather, to be dead? After everything that you try to tell me, you can tell me right now that Jesus Christ, the Savior of the world, is on your side. You tell me that with all the conviction in your heart that Jesus Christ is on your side right now. Please.
can't tell you that.
Say it. Say his name. Say that he told you. And you followed him on exactness. Because I have prayed for you. I sat there and tried my best to forgive you and Chad and Alex. And I was deceived. And I was broken by my own mother. What are you doing? What are you doing?
They think
I don't care about
they know
other people.
what happened. They think they know who's responsible.
Do you know that you told me?
Everything.
Do you know that you told me?
Because you weren't there. So
You're right. I wasn't there. I was kept in
That's
the
right.
lab.
And one day,
Two kids
you will
were
know.
murdered.
One day,
Murdered.
you will know what actually happened.
You're right. Because you know what, Mom?
And we
God
all will
spoke
stand there with
everything
We-
into the light. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. He will convict the people who act in his name with pure blasphemy. Is this funny? This is funny? This is funny. You're laughing. Like, this is funny. How come your camera's on, Mom? You don't want to look at me in the eye? Why can't you look at me? It's
nice
just
to
you and me.
talk
I'm
to
in my
you
house
folks.
alone.
I love you. I always will. One day you will see, and one day you will understand.
Go ahead and hang
I
up.
do love
See
you.
how that works for you. You gonna hang up?
I don't have anything else to say.
They're not.
You don't know what happened. You don't know what happened.
Freaking matter what happened if they're buried in your new husband's backyard. Tell me that matters what happened. You tell me that you did this in Jesus' name, Mom. I have to hear that out of your mouth. If you believe it, then you are not afraid. Every witness of Christ will scream his name when he comes back. So you are that person.
I am that person. I am that person.
Christ,
And he
to
will
be a
come
murderer.
to you. Oh, yeah, Colby, because that's what it is.
I don't know where the lies and all these things are written. I don't see it. I never have. The light of Jesus Christ is the most powerful thing that's ever lived. It's the most loving, embracive thing that has ever happened to this world. And I pray that you see him and fall into his grace. I pray every day. I pray, no matter how mad I am at you, no matter how bad I want to hit your husband in the face with a shovel. I pray for you. I pray for him. You ripped my heart out, and you ripped out everyone in this family's heart out.
And once again, I have a lot of respect for Colby, and my heart breaks for him when I listen to that call. His mom is not willing to take any responsibility for her horrific actions, and I can only imagine how devastating that must be for a son. She is, in my opinion, either delusional or just plain evil. It took quite some time before Lori could stand trial because she was initially declared not competent and was required to undergo restorative treatment. In April of 2022, it was ruled that Lori was finally fit to stand trial. Her trial started on the 3rd of April 2023, and the jury found her guilty on all charges on the 12th of May 2023. This is already a long video and I'm not going to go into too much detail here about the trial, but there were many witnesses and there was so much evidence against Lori. It was just so clear to everyone that she was guilty. On the 31st of July 2023, Lori Daybell was sentenced to 3 life sentences without parole. This is when Lori decided she wanted to address the public and the court for the first time. I'm going to play her entire strange speech for you, but it's like 8 minutes long, so you can skip past it if you don't want to hear the crap she says.
I would like to start by quoting John from the New Testament in the Bible. In John chapter 8, verse 7, Jesus says, "He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her." Then in verse 15, Jesus says, "Ye judge after the flesh, I judge no man. And yet, if I judge, my judgment is true." And then in verse 16, Jesus says, "Ye judge after the flesh, I judge no man. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true. And yet if I judge, my Jesus knows me, and Jesus understands me. I mourn with all of you who mourn my children and Tammy. Jesus Christ knows the truth of what happened here. Jesus Christ knows that no one was murdered in this case. Accidental deaths happen. Suicides happen. Fatal side effects from medications happen. I have a different perspective in life because in 2002, when I was pregnant with Tylee, I died in the hospital while in labor with her. They tried to stop my labor. They put me on the table and they put something in my IV, and I felt my spirit falling to the floor. I was standing near my pregnant body, watching the doctors try to revive me, which took them a few minutes. In that time, my sister Stacy was standing to my left. I turned to hug her and was surprised that her spirit was as tangible as a physical body, because I knew I was in spirit and she was in spirit. She said she needed to show me some things, and we went to heaven. I later returned to my body. Because of this experience, I have access to heaven and the spirit world. Since then, I have had many communications from people now living in heaven, including my children, Tylee Ashlyn and Joshua Jackson, my sisters, Stacy and Lolly, my aunts and my uncles, and my grandparents. I have had many communications with Jesus Christ, the Savior of this world, and our heavenly parents. I have had many angelic visitors have come and communicated with me and even manifested themselves to me. Because of these communications, I know for a fact that my children are happy and busy in the spirit world. Because of my communications with my friend Tammy Daybell, I know that she is also very happy and extremely busy. I have always mourned the loss of my loved ones, and I have lost many in this mortal world. However, I know them more than most people. I know where they are now and what they're doing. I know how wonderful heaven is, and I'm homesick for it every single day. I know we all lived in heaven before we were born on earth, and we were all adult spirits in the heavenly realm. We chose to come to earth as mortals. Heaven is more wonderful than you can possibly imagine. I do not fear death, but I look forward to it. I did not want to return to my body when I was out of it. Even though my son Colby, who I adored more than anything, was only 6 years old at the time, and I was about to give birth to this new baby girl that I wanted so badly. I was a young mother, and you would think I wouldn't want to leave my children, but as I stood in heaven, I did not want to go back. I thought they would be fine without me because I was peaceful and I was happy and I was home. But then I was told by Jesus that I needed to go back and complete things that I had covenanted or promised to do before I was born. This caused me a lot of distress because I knew heaven was my real home, and I only wanted to be there. I was free from pain, emotional and physical. But then I was shown how I would help my children and others in the future, so ultimately I did agree to go back to my body. Tylee has visited me. She is happy and very busy. Tylee is free now from all the pains of her life. Tylee suffered horrible physical pain her whole life. I sat with Tylee in the hospital year after year after year while she screamed in pain when the morphine wasn't even enough to take away the pain of her pancreatitis. I sat there while she cried, and I held back her hair while she threw up. And I am the only person on this earth who knows how much Tylee suffered in her life. She had pain every single day. She never felt good. Her body did not work right. And I don't know if that was from complications from me dying while she was being born or something else, but she had a very difficult life. She was sexually abused by her own biological father since she was 3 years old, and she was forced by family court to go visit him for 10 years against her will. I fought for her in court. I protected her. I tried to protect her with my whole life. I tried to protect her. I worried about her every single day. Tylee had to get her GED because she couldn't go to school every day because she never felt good. She felt sick. Nobody knows this because Tylee, like myself, tries to put on a good front, tries to be a happy person, tries to have hope in life, tries to know that she's here for a purpose and that she has an eternal purpose to be on this earth. But I never stopped worrying about her. One of the times that Tylee came to me as a spirit after she died, she commanded me, and she said to me, "Stop worrying, Mom. We are fine." She knows how I worry and how I miss her. The first time JJ visited me after he passed away, he put his arm around me and he said to me, "You didn't do anything wrong, Mom. I love you. And I know you loved me every minute of my life." JJ, Joshua Jackson, was an adult spirit, and he was very, very tall when he put his arm around me. He is busy, he is engaged, he has jobs that he does there, and he is happy where he is. His life was short, but JJ's life was meaningful. JJ was a wonderful person and touched the lives of everyone, and I adored him every minute of his life. My eternal friend, Tammy Daybell, has visited me on several occasions. She came to bring me peace and comfort, and I know that she is extremely busy helping her family, especially her children and grandchildren, and I have a great love for Tammy. My beautiful children, Tylee Ashlyn and Joshua Jackson, rest safely this day in the arms of Jesus. My wonderful friend, Tammy Daybell, rests safely this day in the arms of Jesus. And I look forward to the day when we are all reunited, and I too will rest with them in the arms of my Jesus.
In my opinion, Lori Daybell is exactly where she deserves to be for the rest of her life, and she must never ever walk free again. Lori still has to stand trial for the death of Charles Vallow. The trial date has been set and will take place on the 24th of February 2025. She will also face charges for conspiracy to commit murder for her niece's ex-husband, Brandon Boudreaux. The interesting part for me is that she is reportedly going to represent herself this time. That's going to be interesting. Chad's trial started on the 1st of April in 2024. His trial lasted 7 weeks. The jury deliberated for 6 hours and found him guilty of all charges on the 30th of May 2024. On the 1st of June of 2024, Chad was sentenced to death. I'm well aware that this case has been covered over and over, but I really wanted to do my part in telling the story, and I wanted to do one video with all the details in it that were necessary. Even though this has been a very detailed video and I really tried to do my best with the timeline, it was so confusing because there is a lot of information everywhere and all in different places. But there is still more information that I just could not add in here because it would just be too much. But you can go do your own digging. Believe me, I went down a hell of a rabbit hole with this case. And it is probably hands down the craziest case with the most disturbing events happening all over the place. I mean, it's hard to put this case into words, but 2 children lost their lives, and that at the hand of their own mother. And all of this the crazy beliefs, and Charles Vallow and Tammy Daybell. I mean, I don't have words for Lori and Chad. I honestly don't. It makes me sick. It makes me sick what they did. Like I mentioned before, I believe Lori is either delusional or she is plain evil. I don't know if she really believed all of that stuff. I don't know how you can read scriptures and get from that you should lie to people and murder people, because it's not in there, okay? It's not in there. And I don't know how you get to a place where a man or anything in this world can convince you to harm your own children. That is probably the most difficult thing for me to understand. Do I think that she still believes all of these delusions that they made up in their little fantasy world? I think that she sort of forces herself to still believe it, because if she does not continue to believe all of this crazy stuff, then she would have to come to the realization that she murdered her children for nothing, over lies that she chose to believe. I also think that she chose to believe those lies and delusions because it was convenient for the lifestyle that she wanted for herself. Perhaps she didn't want kids around anymore, and she definitely wanted to be with Chad. She definitely wanted to be superior spiritually. She wanted to have that power, and she wanted a mission. And I mean, she could have had a mission. She could have had a good mission, but she messed up her whole entire life. I think Chad Daybell is evil, and he is only after money and power. I think he was well aware that what he was teaching people was a lie. I don't think he believed it at all. That is my opinion. Let me know what you think. But I think, how could he not know? He must know he's lying to someone. He must know that he has stolen his teachings from old books from Mormonism. I mean, if you do your own research, you will find that Chad took a lot of things out of a lot of other people's visions and a lot of other people's books. Another interesting thing that I just couldn't add into this video was that Chad's sister-in-law, Heather Daybell, actually did an interview with Hidden True Crime. And go and check that channel out, because I love that channel. It's great. But they did an interview with her, and she actually said that Chad had texted with another woman, and she was also married, and her husband found out and phoned Chad and told him to leave his wife alone. So I found that very interesting, because if Lori thought she was the only one, she really wasn't. And it makes me wonder if Chad wanted to go back to the fundamentalist side of Mormonism as it was, you know, from in the Joseph Smith days. I don't know. But I think he wanted, like I said, money, power, and a pretty girl on his arm. I think his sentence was well deserved, and I cannot even stand to look at him. I think he is despicable. The worst part for me is both Chad and Lori have never admitted to doing anything wrong. They have not taken any responsibility for their horrific actions. They are clinging to their delusions. My heart goes out to the loved ones of Charles Vallow. I believe Charles was a good man. He tried to warn everyone, but nobody listened to him. My heart goes out to all the loved ones of Tammy Daybell. The person she was married to for 27 years betrayed her and murdered her. That is despicable, and I pray that her family can find a way to make peace with this horrific tragedy in some way. My heart goes out to Colby Ryan, Lori's oldest son. He has gone through a lot, and it can't be easy to know all of this about your mom. He lost his siblings and his mom. May he and Kelsey and little Riley be blessed. Colby has started a YouTube channel where he shares about his experience and even shares calls he has with his mom from prison. In one call he had with Lori, she was trying to convince him that Tylee killed JJ and then ended her own life. It's ridiculous, and she just continues to lie to her son, and she keeps making it worse. I will add his channel in my description. Please go and support this incredible young man. Last but not least, my heart breaks for JJ and Tylee. How can anyone make sense of what happened to these children? It is so awful. There are just no words to express how I truly feel about it. May their beautiful souls rest in peace. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed the coverage of this case. Please remember to like and subscribe to help out the channel. Also, I hope 2025 is treating you well so far. Please make sure that you stay safe, and I will see you in the next one.